know it's kind of quiet to start the stream, but just went live. Race 2 at Oaklawn just went official. I know the plan here was to go live at 1, but with the track conditions at Oaklawn Park, I wanted to kind of watch these first couple races and just like focus on them. So you know, if there was anything like funny with the track profile or anything like that. So was able to do that, and I don't think we're really gonna miss much. Race 2 at Fairgrounds also went official. We got Anita on deck, Gulfstream, Oaklawn Park, and Fairgrounds to kind of jump back and forth with. So still a lot of action on the day. So missing these first couple races, and again, not a lot of crazy prices in there either. The second race, so I have Oaklawn Park race 2 pulled up on the screen right now. The number 2 ended up winning the race as the best of the speed. The number 3, who's kind of sitting right behind, finished second. Is kind of closing in on him. With the 7, first-time starter, kind of making a wide move. The 7 and the 6 were kind of in there for those minor spots, another first-time starter. So I'm going to tweet this out, be quiet for a second, and then kind of jump back in. Again, while I'm doing this, I'm not really seeing anything in terms of the track profile at Oaklawn Park, but just wanted to make sure. So just tweet that out. Hopefully some people can jump in on the chat. Clear this out just so I don't have my own voice in the background. Should have a special guest today too, so should be a good one. I'm gonna watch this replay here again. You guys, jump in the chat. Any questions? We'll handicap these races that comes up. Looks like the next race here will be the 7th race at Gulfstream Park. Both the 1 and the 2 warming up on the track right now. Let me pull up the plot. I was gonna start with the 8, but we've got the 7th here. Again, 5 minutes to post. Maiden special weight race. So Optics plot pulled up right now, and you can see the a condensed version of the grid, the past 3 run lines. A lot of first-time starters you can see in terms of surface distance, even on standard being current form, to kind of go off of here. So while those horses are heading towards the gate, number 1, number 2, number 4 is being a little fractious on the track right now. Just for what it's worth. I'm gonna watch the replay here at Oaklawn Park, and then we'll jump in. For Gulfstream. They just downgraded Oaklawn to muddy as well, so it was raining from the first race to the second race. So the track started out as good, quick downgrade to muddy. Hi, you guys in the chat. Make sure if you want, go ahead and jump in with questions, comments. Thanks for joining. Again, we'll have a special guest on Gulfstream coming up. They say 1 minute, but probably going to be a little bit more of a delay. Number 9 currently warming up on the track as well. I'm sorry, not a 1. That's a 3. 9 is a nice looking horse. Is that one of those first-time starters? Yeah. Definitely looks like a 2-turn horse as well. Just kind of looking at the horses. 15 also warm up on the track. If anything kind of pops out. I think that's important with type of maiden races. As you can see, there's a couple horses that have some upside here in terms of, you know, the number 12, number 15, both ex-Flow, coming out of two different maiden races. Kind of similar optics figures for those races. Obviously, the number 2 looks good on the plot. At Aqueduct on the turf, earned a solid figure, but a C grade. So that's your current favorite right now. Could be a little bit vulnerable. Floor looks good on the track as well. Let's go through this. And again, you guys, trying to watch the race over at Oaklawn right now. So I didn't jump on earlier. Was wanting to get a feel for the track, how it was playing, because they had weather, just to see if there was anything. Oaklawn, historically, from what I've noticed doing notes there, they, even on the off days, the track seems to be fair. That's not always. We always want to monitor and, you know, we'll constantly like pay attention to that. But for the most part, I think they do a really good job like keeping the track even. So again, we'll kind of wait for that. Kind of a good maiden special weight race, and then our guest wants to come on and talk about the 8th, so I will bring the guest in. Again, feel free, use the chat option. We've had some really good discussions. Sick handicapping. Yesterday was profitable day. The video is archived on Twitch, and I also uploaded it to YouTube. So there's a couple ways if you want to kind of go back and look at that and kind of reference. Again, if you're new to Optics EQ or unfamiliar with Optics EQ, that's what I use to handicap. I'm a partner at Optics EQ. I'm sure if you're viewing, you probably know that, but if not, now you know. So it's a good tutorial as well because I learned by doing, so I try to talk about what's going on. You know, while I'm looking at a race, upgrading, downgrading horses, sort of using that information. Still waiting on that, and then also we kind of benefit from the delay yesterday at Oaklawn Park with that infield tote delay, kind of stacking the races a little bit between Oaklawn and Fairgrounds. And doesn't look like we're going to be as fortunate today because they're like running right on top of each other. So might have to kind of like make some decisions on, you know, pass or play, that type of stuff. But again, a lot of action between Gulfstream, Santa Anita within the next 45 minutes will be starting. Enough to keep some action. See what's going on at Gulfstream. We're at 0 minutes to post. Looks like they're heading in that direction at least. You guys, let me know what you're playing today. If you're playing anything kind of outside of the tracks that I've listed, Oaklawn, Gulfstream, Santa Anita, Fairgrounds, happy to pull up a plot, look at a grid, look at those races. So just, you know, let me know. You can easily do that. I'm going to pull up the grid for this race. I know we don't have a lot of data. I mean, a lot of first-time starters in the field, but at least get a feel for that. So in a race with a bunch of first-time starters, how can Optics EQ help me play this race? I mean, we have all the same information as a standard past performance, right? If you want to look at the workouts, we have the workouts. You can scroll over the horse's name for sires and dams if that's your thing. But again, you know, this is kind of for me, if I'm playing like a maiden race where I don't have a lot of data, at Gulfstream Park and at Santa Anita, a lot of the workouts are available on XVTV. I know that's not an optics thing, but there's nothing we can do about that. So I would, like, for me playing, when I do the handicapping analysis on Brisnet, anytime there's a workout available, I look it up. I want to see the horse, how the horse behaves, how the horse works, how the horse looks, conditioning, all that stuff. The 9 continues to catch my eye at Gulfstream Park. Very interested in that horse. But again, in a race like this, where it's like we've got a lot of first-time starters, we have a lot of second-time starters. If there's nothing that's shown, like if it's just a bunch of C's or horses that really haven't shown much, no positive indication on optics notes, then I would lean heavily towards the first time starters, and that's just kind of like a general rule of thumb for myself. Everybody has their own kind of different style, but if they haven't shown anything, I'd rather take the new face. If that kind of makes sense. But again, we have the same information that's available in the standard past performances is there. The workout table, sires and dams. The only thing is, like I said, that I wish we could have, that we don't, is having that video information. We do have the clocker information at Santa Anita, but not at Gulfstream, unfortunately, for these type of races. They're in the gate there. We'll go here, stick with Gulfstream Park, watch this race. Again, Fairgrounds, Fairgrounds and Oaklawn right on top of each other. So we'll just kind of, we'll look at Fairgrounds first as kind of a small field, and then go to Oaklawn and kind of bounce back and forth there. All right, we're off. LeBronite, did I say that right? Hopefully. Did that answer your question? How do you approach this type of scenario? While watching this race, that 9 horse that just kind of, yes, thank you, you're welcome. That kept catching my eye, is kind of getting a really good trip. It's tracking the 1, is fine, out in that spot. 4 sitting in the pocket, no cover on the 12. That was one of those X-Flow horses last time out, so showing a little bit more speed today. Same thing with the 15, is kind of racing wide and uncovered in that second flight. 8's getting a good trip, covered up there. The 1 on the rail and the 2 is kind of covered up as well. 9's starting to get pushed along a little bit. Doesn't really look like much is moving behind them at this point. 15's starting to respond. 7 looks like, again, there's just not much pace to go into. 2's getting stiff, no excuse. I'm about to say no excuse for the 9, and then he might come back and find another gear. 2's closing. But yeah, soft pace, saving ground, not much change in running order. Good run from 8, good run from the 2, just not having much pace to kind of to run at in that race. Which, I mean, for all of us, it's weird because we don't ride at Gulfstream Park, but I think we all know that you gotta be forwardly placed. You gotta push the pace. Turf or the main track. Because those races will just result like that. 16-1 upset winner. Second time starter. A lot of changes from that debut. Broke slow, off a beat slow, rushed up, chased on the turn, squeezed in the stretch, but wasn't doing enough at the time. I mean, I think the key with that horse today was just getting that soft pace. I mean, did show some speed first time out, but the fact they just, kind of let the horse walk on the lead through that moderate pace was pretty much, game over at that point. All right, so let's move on. We'll go Fairgrounds, like I said. Fairgrounds, see if there's any kind of option there, and then back to Oaklawn. Kind of starting off right now, the 3, 6-5, the 1, 5-2. We'll just see if those horses are worth taking on. If they're not, just be easy pass. If they are, we found a lot of really good vulnerable favorites yesterday, and took advantage in each spot. So good handicapping, got a little lucky at times, but That's what it takes. So third race here, this is up on the plot. Again, we're trying to focus on beating the 3 or the 1 if possible. If not, we'll just pass. They look pretty strong in terms of plot. There is kind of a high speed rate. The horse is above the par line, which could set up for a closer, but it doesn't seem like necessarily the 3 or the 1 are true closing types. There's really no EPs, and they have the best finish. But we'll look at the grid. The 1 has some upside, getting that class relief. Ooh, not great, but seems okay in this spot. And the 3 as well. And actually, everybody else, speed figures, a B- last time out at a slightly higher level. Even though par is more of a lateral move, still pretty much fits. Optics figures for the 3 are pretty much higher than the rest. The 1 has the 84, but we're talking 7-5 to 3-1. The 4 is currently 7-2. This horse looks just too slow to me. Third start of the form cycle, had some traffic and trouble here behind a lone flow winner, so a little bit of upside, but those speed figures are just like really, really slow. Same thing with the 5, hard to kind of endorse in this spot. Vet scratch last time out. They were trying to run on the turf on January 10th. The 6, kind of the same thing, looks a little bit soft. Current form, second off. Possible improvement in this spot, but again, compared to those other 2. Number 8, a little bit of upside there as well. Ran at this condition last time out, off the turf race, a move against the flow. So some upside from that perspective, but both those horses here, the 6 and the 8, maybe they get a trip, but I don't know. I know it's not that exciting, but the 1 and the 3 seem pretty logical. What are those numbers? The 6, 12, and the 8 is 5. Let's look at Oaklawn Park, and then we can kind of monitor the board at Fairgrounds to see if anything kind of improves over there from a value standpoint. But nothing really in terms of value kind of like jumps out as enticing. So third race at Oaklawn Park, we'll get the plot pulled up, check out the board. Close the sound so I don't get in trouble. The current favorite, soft favorite right now, the number 8 is 3-1, and the 3 is also 3-1, with the 1 4-1. So not far behind. So the 8 looks fine on the plot, good tracking square, kind of sitting in that quad 1 spot, and has some finish. The 3 also positional speed out in front, could be a wire-to-wire threat. Does have the 7 likely to contend with. Where are other horses here? The number 1 also, could benefit from that quad 1 contention, saving ground. So we'll look at those in the grid. I also want to note too, we talked about this yesterday, just kind of monitoring Villafranco, because after that opening weekend where the horses were really live and then kind of started to slow down, wasn't taking much money with his runners yesterday. Both those horses, reacting to that, but did win the first. So could see. Joe knows. Thank you for the follow. Right now we're looking at Oaklawn Park, in theory. Oaklawn Park, race 3. Gonna kind of assess these favorites and go through the race once everything kind of cooperates. I'm gonna use this until the grid loads over here. Come on, grid. All right, we'll start with the 8, just going from this point. looks pretty legit. Looks pretty legit in terms of the last 3 run lines. Making a second start of the form cycle, was against the flow, closed last time out. Should be closer to the pace today for whatever reason. Doesn't have to be that far back. As we can see, is kind of moving into more of a quad 1, quad 2 spot. From that perspective, all right, we got a grid. Let's go all the way down. Let's see. I just want to see where the horse was positioned last time out. Was positioned as a quad 2, but for some reason, they were so far off the pace, and it was behind a slow pace. So maybe just a rider error that day. But for whatever reason, should be able to stick closer to the pace today, according to Optics plot. The number 3, the barn mate, Caribbean, is the one, looks kind of like same thing, has that quad 1 spot, looking to kind of be a pace setter in here. Ran from off the pace last time out, made first move, dove inside and just kind of had the momentum, found another gear, was very, very well meant that day. Was 10-1 morning line, ended up going off at 4-1, so really well met. Which is telling a little bit here as well, because you have that 53-day layoff. So if the horse was ready to kind of run a top race, did have some recovery coming into this race. But is probably for this level, is going to be at his best being a little bit more effective forwardly placed. And I think with this racetrack, they're going to want to be more forwardly placed today. So we'll kind of rely on the plot in terms of that perspective. But both those horses right now, and it just clicked, they're both 7-2. Of those 2 horses, I'm leaning stronger 8. I just think there's a little bit more upside there in terms of trip. The 3 on standard could get a little bit softened up a little bit with the 7 and the 6 as well. Some positional speed there. I'm going to kind of look at those horses and see if they're kind of true speed. This number 6, stretching out, second start off the layoff here, slight lunge out of the gate, chased 1 pace, but again, keep in mind that was a sprint race. We're going to go 2 turns here, so is capable of showing a little bit more speed. Not necessarily a front runner, at least as of late. Was kind of running at a little bit higher level, so might be able to show a little bit more speed like he did here. It's kind of a wide tracking trip last season. But Ingrid Mason last season started off really strong, and this season is different, a little cold. So kind of monitoring those runners when they start to kind of turn around. Currently 7-1 on the 6. We'll look at the 7, stretching out, second start of the meet, a wide no keep. I don't know. I can't get to this one. First time around 2 turns. Not necessarily first time around 2 turns. I can find races around 2 turns, but back in 2018. So it doesn't seem like there's a lot of intent. Probably their best chance with this horse stretching out is going to be, like the plot suggests, to be forwardly placed. And then let's look at the 1. Kind of scrolled over the 1 a little bit, because third choice at 4-1 and not far off that Diodoro pair. Laughing Fox just doesn't have much speed. That's the trouble with this horse. He certainly, he can run races that fit in terms of par. It's a little bit on the lower end, but for him, it's all about trip. Current form is fine, I guess. C pluses, his running at this level. He just not at 4-1. It's too short to kind of play on a horse that just does not have a lot of speed and just doesn't really want to win, in my opinion. That win last time out, or I shouldn't say last time out, but his last win on the Oaklawn Invitational Stakes, that was 2 seasons ago, 2019 in May. Kind of had some racing going into that, maybe a little bit better form at that time as a 3-year-old. So, again, just in terms of value, just not exciting. The number 2, I liked his last race a little bit at Gulfstream Park, and I went back and watched it because I hate these 2 type of layoff lines. We've talked about this before in terms of layoffs. You come off from the layoff, you're either looking, like in this case, to be a prep, to improve second time out. And then when there's another layoff that follows, it's like there's obviously an issue. So it is good. It is positive in this case that this is a true kind of second off. He's coming back in 24 days. So I think there's a positive from that perspective in terms of the two. Makes him a little bit interesting in this spot, actually. And looks good to the 8. Maybe this is kind of an 8-2. Maybe that's how this race is kind of shaping up, because 8's the favorite. It's not that exciting in terms of a win bet. Let me just make sure. Rated R, Superstars, just kind of the same thing as the 1. Capable on his best day, but deep closing type. So with the trip, and then you have Jumper. Oh, you know what? I like this horse too. Actually, I almost wrote about this horse being a little bit interesting, getting back to the dirt. It kind of has some sneaky form kind of throughout, sort of a lightly raced type, not that exposed. The one race on the dirt at Churchill Downs was a B. I'm taking kind of speed figures with a grain of salt because of the longer distance, but did go 2 turns on the dirt, ran a good race, competitive race, and a competitive speed figure. So at 17-1, definitely can be used in here. So yeah, kind of 8-5-2, sort of the way I'm looking right now. Fairgrounds just concluded with those 2 favorites, 3-1. So I think this race is more interesting to kind of focus on. Where are you guys at? Are you looking at Oaklawn Park? Any thoughts for this upcoming race? I just want to make some, I'm doing optics, trying to do optics notes at the same time. So with these horses that are on the track right now, wanted to make sure that I'm writing down that they have warm-ups. And you guys let me know if you can hear the phone call coming in, how it sounds and everything. I know we're working on getting a microphone. That will happen soon. So any other suggestions on that front? Oh, we have the president of horse racing joining us. How are you, sir?
I've just this morning I experienced another 28 executive orders. I'm pretty tired, but it's nice to take a break and speak with you today and play the horses a little bit, and then I'll shit out some more executive orders later. So it's going to be a good day.
Awesome. So right now, we kind of just discussed the 3rd race at Oaklawn Park. They're going towards the gate, and then we're going to flip over to Gulfstream Park because we get the 8th race coming up, 10 minutes to post, and I want your thoughts on that race. So if you want, kind of fire away.
Yeah, I think just, the big thing for me in the 8th at Gulfstream is it's one of those races that there's not a big delta between, the horses taking the most money and the horses taking the least when you look at kind of form on paper and speed and, kind of all the normal things that we would look at. These are the kinds of races where, I like to, key in on some of the longer prices, given the gap between the perceived fastest horse in the race and the slowest, to me, seems like awfully tight. So I think this is just an opportunity potentially to find some value and, take a stand against the horses taking the most money.
So right now, the number 2 is the current favorite. So you're against. I mean, I'm looking at Optics plot right now. I have it pulled up. And to me, just like a quick glance, looking at the board, seeing that horse is the favorite, he just gets like absolutely buried on the plot. Just looks like has no advantage whatsoever in this race. So kind of like right off the bat is a horse I have like zero issue trying to beat.
Yeah, exactly. It's one of those. It's one of those races where you look and you say, okay, all right, that's the if that's the chalk. who else is problematic, in terms of, those horses taking money, and you look at it and you just don't see anything that frightens you. It's also one of those races that I don't necessarily love anything either, but that's not the point. The point is, trying to kind of maximize your, kind of your opinion of the chalk. So you don't have to, I mean, at least in my mind, you don't have to have a horse that you're in love with in order to kind of make the most of a situation that you see as advantageous. So,
I want to pause on that really quick, because I think that's so important, and I think people get like lost on that. Is like they're always trying to. It seems like, at least like from Twitter, or at least public handicappers, like they're trying to find this horse that they just like they love. Quick update: Oaklawn, because they're crossing the Y. We have 4-3-7, so no love for me. But they're trying to find this horse that they like absolutely love, and one of the reasons I want to bring you on, and that we've maybe met IRL before in the past, is that, you're a really good player and really good understanding of, value and structuring tickets. So I think that's like a really important point to bring up, is that you don't necessarily have to love a horse. You're playing kind of the situation here, and trying to beat the favorite.
Yeah, I mean, I look at a race like that, and to me, you look at a horse like the 1 or the 9. And, certainly there's nothing to fall in love with, but by the same token, when you kind of compare that horse's form and speed and, again, class and, all the myriad of things that we look at as in kind of direct comparison to, let's say, the 2 or the 3, and you say to yourself, yeah, okay, I don't love the 1 or the 9, but by the same token, should they be, 15 to 20 to 1, whereas, the 2 is 2 to 1. No, I want to take a stand against the 2 and, potentially, key off of, maybe what I perceive as an overlay. Now, I think the other key point too is, listen, it could very well chalk out and you say, okay, well, you're wrong and that was a bad opinion. I would rather have an opinion of that nature take the chance, especially because, I looked at this entire card and this was kind of the one race that I perceived as having potentially the most value. I mean, I'll go ahead, and if the 2 wins, great, I'll tip my cap and move on, but I'm still going to approach the next race in the same manner. I'm not going to say, okay, now it's time to, put $100 on the 2 to win because that, didn't work out. I mean, the key is sticking with that type of mindset, because if you try to go through your kind of horse playing days, chasing kind of those types of things, I don't know how you ever make it.
Right. The grid's being like really slow. I'm going to skip ahead on this, but I did want to kind of pull up the grid for both those horses, because the ones that you're interested in, the number 1 and the number 9, I mean, they look like they could get really great trips in terms of optics plot. Sometimes, quadrant 3 is kind of a tough read, because the horse has positional speed, and in this case, has some finish, being a square. And your quadrant 1, which includes the favorite right now, the number 2, is you have all these horses where they're 3, 4, 6, 7. They're just like indistinguishable. They don't have finish. They look like they're going to kind of battle each other up front. The 5, kind of starts to chase, and it's like the 1, even just if you're like thinking about this race, is able to kind of save ground, so kind of can sit behind those horses and finish. And then the 9 should get a good tracking trip. I know in the chat, Gulfstream 8 don't like the favorite either with the 7, and the 10 interests me, but I think we'll lose too much wide post. In this case, I don't know if the 10 will lose that much ground with the wide post, because you have so much contention, and if you have those horses going forward, the 10 could be able to get over and just sit right behind them. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, you have that big kind of bunch up front, to where I don't think the 10's going to lose ground and is a strong finisher. A closer at a short price, currently 4 to 1, is something to consider, but maybe, keying underneath. Let's see if Grid's going to participate here. The number 1's coming back off of a layoff, first start in 182 days. I'm not crazy about the string of layoffs. I don't know, Mr. President, if you have an opinion on that, in terms of those layoff lines and barn change.
Yeah, listen, again, I'm not crazy about either of the, like, if you said, all right, you have to pick a winner here, and, if you don't, this will be the last race you're ever allowed to play. I certainly wouldn't take the 1 or the 9. It's certainly a concern. There's no doubt. In time, to me, at my age, really isn't a concern. So maybe it's not a concern for those horses either. Like a couple months or 3-4 months in kind of the span of my life is like a second. So not a big deal. I'm sure the horse thinks very similar to what I think anyway. Horses were a big part of my core constituency voting group, especially in Georgia and Pennsylvania. I think it's fine. I
Okay.
think it's fine. Yeah,
Yeah,
I wouldn't worry about that.
I'm kind of with you. Just, I mean, it's a pretty, evenly matched field. The eight's on the track, warming up right now. Kind of like the way that horse looks. Is that one of those? Doesn't look great on the plot coming out of those marathon races.
Yeah,
It's
and I'm
okay.
with
He does have
I'm
a
with you
better
on
than
the
look
seven.
last time out. And again, like to what you're saying, and we've got value is king, 100% true. I can definitely get behind the eight just in a spot like this, even though kind of overlook the plot because we've got some notes and some current form that seems to fit. Outside of the two, let's kind of take a look because in terms of pace, looks vulnerable to me. Was able to get a perfect trip back on December 4th. Had everything goes away. And then kind of the same thing here, space. So that means kind of the race shape. Early, the field is spaced out, which kind of can be a chaotic result, and then finish in a blanket finish. So those aren't necessarily, to me, the most like positive comments. So those two things combined with the plot, I'm kind of with you. I could kind of 1.9. Those other horses are just going to kind of get caught up in the mix. Let's
Yeah,
take a look
and
at the
I'm
seven. Yep.
yeah, and I'm with you. I'm with you on the seven. I mean, I just certainly I think if I had to pick one horse, I thought again, just picking winners, not trying to kind of maximize value. I would say the seven would be the pick as well. I mean, kind of an old school angle, but kind of interesting last race that was at 1 3/8. Kind of old school angles on the cutback. Kind of interesting. There's a lot to like about the seven as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just
I
one
mean,
of those,
typically I don't like when they run a horse when they're running a horse the marathon distance because it pretty much means like this horse is too slow to like run like normal distances. Maybe we'll just put them long and see what happens. But I think this is sort of a different case because it was first off the claim, and I think they're just kind of running the horse. It wasn't so much that like we just need to run this horse long to win. That this horse had been pretty much sprinting for the most part. Most of his career did win at the flat mile, going off the claim. And I think it's just sort of one of those moves where, kind of dirty the form a little bit. So the seven is interesting and doesn't necessarily kind of need the lead, but I think is part of that one because of shorter sprint races.
Yeah, and I think building that. Listen, it's a 4-year-old with 10 career starts, but and I agree. I think that kind of move is the trainer getting a hold of the horse, potentially building a little bit of stamina as well. Certainly, kind of showed the speed that you would expect a miler, stretching out to show. Obviously, faded, couldn't handle the distance, but that in effect, and that still like ran a pretty solid race, all things being considered, at a to be able to then kind of cut back to this distance where he belongs. Again, could have created a little bit of value in those looking at the kind of recent form. Maybe they look at that as a negative. I kind of see that more as a positive.
So again, like going into this race, and this is an area that like part of my game that I'm working on, and I know that you can help with is just in terms of like how are you going to play it? Like how are you going to structure this ticket? Like how are you going to approach it? Like what pools? Where are you going to kind of maximize that value?
Yeah, so what I did actually was utilize some kind of opinions I had in the last race, which worked out. I really liked the 1 and the 3 in the previous race. So I've got like a lot of doubles riding on the 1 and 9 from the last race, which would be huge because the 3 was, I believe, 16-1.
Yeah. That's right. We watched that race. Got the soft pace. So cool. Yeah.
Yeah, I got the soft pace. So I tried to kind of look at kind of the string of races and put it together. So Given that I kind of have those on top, and I hate to use this, it's not really the kind of best way to, I wouldn't necessarily in normal times kind of suggest this, but I do have kind of some, and I'm going to say a naughty word, which is kind of defensively, using the 1 and 9 underneath and a few exactas with the 7. Just as, listen, I know I have the, I don't need to play the 1 or the 9 on top because I have the doubles. So it's just, listen, if those horses, kind of, when you look at the will pays, the exactas are big. So in this case, I feel like it's okay to do. Where you never, ever, ever want to be kind of defensive is with chalk, so to speak. But I feel in this particular circumstance that it's a little bit more kind of palatable.
Okay.
I'm sorry. Also with a 10, so 7-10 with those two underneath, just as like a, kind of my little defense mechanism there.
I mean, seven right now is 7-1. They win in the gate.
Yeah, I mean, listen, and again, this could very well, listen, it chalks out in the 2 wins, and so be it.
Yeah, I think that playing the 2 off the tickets is the way to go. 100%.
Yeah, it's the way to go. You just kind of have to stick with it, and
Again, we went through, looked at the plot, doesn't have a pace advantage, went through the notes, it's getting totally flattered off those recent trips. So, all right, they're off.
Yeah, let's get stupid.
All right, they're off. If you guys are watching, I can't show it. I don't want to get in trouble here, but if you guys are live too, I know there's a lot of root on the 7, so I think that would be a good in there. And then for the doubles, the 1 and 9. 1 getting that kind of pocket trip, not as much contention as it could be, so I don't think that's necessarily going to help the other horses, but a pretty solid pace. It's not lone. Last time out, the race prior, it was a much softer pace, a much kind of less pressured pace, I believe, for the 3. The 2, is getting pressured from the 6 and does have those horses kind of right on its tail and much faster, 47. So pretty solid first and second quarter. 1 in the pocket. 8 has traffic inside. 7 parked wide. I know they took back early. 10 starting to make that move. We'll see. 2 starting to try to separate. It's continuing to separate. The 8 has a lot of run, but just got really stuck in traffic. So you guys can mark the 8 as a trouble horse last time out because he's not going to win today, but he probably should have. 10-3. So it's definitely a spot to take on the favorite there. 10-3-2-8.
Yeah, it looked like the 3. Looked like the 3 got up there. So.
Oh, sorry, 3-10. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So again, like you look at that, and sure, we spent like seven minutes talking about a pair of horses that were 21 and 31 respectively. But you end up with the vulnerable favorite, and again, it felt like it was a good place to take a stand. So.
Yeah. Well, let's put a lot more races. We'll be around. POTUS sounds different than he does on CNN. Well, that is fake news.
Yeah, listen, I mean, it's one of those things where they want to make me sound older than I am. I know there's like this perceived liberal bias at CNN, but they like to make me try to look and feel older than I am. But as you know, I'm spry and I'm healthy. There's no malarkey here. I'm ready to go. Again, like actually since the 8th at Gulfstream went out, 2 more executive orders went out the door. So I'm feeling good. I also had an extra glass of prune juice, and everything's really coming together.
Well, if you need to take breaks, just let us know. Meantime, we've got a lot of races coming up. Fairgrounds 4 is 3 minutes to post, 10 minutes to Santa Anita, and then 15 to Oaklawn. I think we can kind of take a look at this, kind of seeing some things kind of jump out here to kind of start. In the 4th at Fairgrounds. So the current favorite is the number 3, who I'm kind of not feeling right now. I don't like this lone no finish last time out. Had an excuse excuse on debut, was able to improve, and then last time out faltered. Now they're going to go to the turf. Seems pretty experimental, not that much confidence. I know the speed figures, there are some things to like, but not great. The 4 just is kind of jumping out to me. Slog, no push, improve. So slog means the horse broke slow. No push means the rider stiffed the horse, let's say, not asked for run, and hopped the start, race behind the field, was not asked for run from off the pace, started to ask and show run the final furlong, was kind of more to kind of get fitness there. So I think there's some upside with that horse. They come back in 33 days, run them on the surface that they debuted on back on the 28th. And currently 7-1 off an 8-1 morning line. Took money first time out. We're getting blinkers today. There's some things to like there, just in terms of kind of a quick handicap. I can see the 1 had a B last time out, but that B was in maiden claiming, so not crazy about that. The 2 first time starters taking some money in here. 6-1 morning line, currently 7-2. Has been riding fine. I talked about 3, certainly capable, but in form, I'm just not crazy about it with change. It just kind of seems steady. 4 I was talking about. The 5 showed a little speed, steady took up, but was tiring at the time, was kind of pressed by the eventual winner. Probably would have liked to have seen this horse back in a little bit quicker time than 2 months, so that kind of bothers me. Maybe some upside with the 6, second time starter, also broke slow, getting blinkers, showed some run, not asked for best after the slow start, so kind of similar to the 4, and kind of coming out of that same race there. So I think both those 2 are a little bit interesting. 7 kind of tough to get behind. I think kind of the same thing. Looks pretty stabby as far as going to turf. 9 getting moderate class relief, improving in terms of this form cycle. Currently 9-1. The 1 looks physically okay for turf, but class could be an issue. Massive downpour when the horses were in the paddock and running in the race for Bunky Song in the Louisiana Futurity. The number 8 is not taking any money at all. 8-1 morning line, first time starter there. So I'm leaning 7-6. 6 also is coming out of that same race and taking money, but probably taking a little bit more money than the 4 because of the finish, because of that running line. Do you guys see what I'm saying? With the 6, even though they kind of ran the same race, they both ran C's, both slog, no push improved, but finishing 5th by 9 and then 7 by 13. That's kind of the discrepancy in terms of odds. So I think both are alive, but it seems like the better price. Any thoughts there, Chad, or anybody? POTUS, did you take a nap? Sleepy?
Yeah, I was taking a little bit of nap. I've got this paper form because obviously, I don't really know how to use a computer, and there's no fairgrounds. So I guess maybe the people
like I said earlier, that's more like unfairgrounds, in my opinion.
It is a little bit like unfairgrounds. That's right. But I'll rectify that. As you know, I'm writing a lot of wrongs, so we'll take care of that.
One of those executive orders. So there's 0 minutes at fairgrounds. We'll just kind of take a look at Santa Anita really quick. So you got a few minutes there. Handicap these races already. Over at Biz, I went 1, 4, 3, and 2, and no 7. Currently 7 is a favorite. What's going on there?
So Emily, how do you handle a race like the first at Santa Anita, where it's a little bit of a short field? It's the first race of the day. It's a maiden special weight. Like, how do you generally kind of look at a field like that in terms of the betting part of it?
Right. So, I mean, the first race at Santa Anita is pretty much you're always thinking like pick 5, right? Because that's like just one of the best bets that the track offers. So, in this case, it's kind of tough because you look at the sequence and go like, is it playable, right? Because this race does start it off. In terms of the 7, kind of just referencing sort of what I noted on there, comes out of the common race with the 1. Oh, the 1's out. So I guess that does upgrade the 7 a little bit. Sorry, I'm kind of slow here. Yeah, but going back to your question as far as like how do you approach it from like a playing standpoint, I would in this case kind of the same way of looking at the pick 5 whether I would want to play the 7 or the 2. I didn't mind the 2. I watched the workouts on the 2. I thought they were fine. I mean, taking some money like kind of makes sense in this spot. Almost seems like pass. Actually, works on the 3 better than I like the works on the 2. But public's kind of disagreeing at this point. But yeah, anyways, to kind of circle back to your question, that's sort of the way I would approach it, is sort of look at that sequence first. There's really not much in here I'd want to bet from like a win end or any horse I'd want to key in exacta. The 7 and the 1 being scratched, the 7 and the 1 came out race, and I just thought the 1 was better value than the 7. There was a little bit of change in the finishing position between those 2. Outside of that, not crazy about the 5 or the 6. The 4, I think is okay. I think it's probably fair. The 3 and the 4 are probably the best value in my opinion. But it's tough to have confidence. Does that kind of help answer it a little bit?
Yeah. Makes sense.
So just kind of checking up on Fairgrounds. Looks like the 6 is going to roll. So, and the 4's kind of, got a little green. Shouldn't count the chickens before they hatch or whatever. Here comes the 4 running on late. But those were both the 6 and the 4 were those second-time starters coming out of that same race. And again, bad favorite there. Could just kind of read between the lines that like something just wasn't right with that horse. There's no reason like off the lone no finish to then kind of go to the turf. I missed the first part of the race, so I shouldn't like fully diss the horse because maybe there was some trouble or something. But visually looks a mess in the lane. Gonna have to watch that replay.
7 finishes second at 64-1.
Yeah. But again, I mean, that's, it became, and the 6 ended up drifting up to 6-1, but those were the 2 horses that just made the most sense to kind of play with the 6 and the 4 in that race. The 7, just kind of click over what's going on with that horse. First time turf. Didn't have much to go off of. Likes the grass apparently.
Yeah, got the lead too. Got a kind of an uncontested lead, it looked like. Just kind of held on.
So they're going towards the gate there. Let's see. Kind of follow both those races. We got Oaklawn coming up. Do you have Oaklawn in the paper form?
I do. Let me turn some pages.
Cool. So we got the 4th race coming up.
It looks like a little bit of weather at Oaklawn as well.
Just a little bit.
Has that been impacting the track?
Not that I could tell. I took the first races off from the stream in order to kind of watch that carefully, and it didn't seem like it. And again, I think Oaklawn does a really good job as far as their track maintenance, keeping it fair. So.
Now, one thing I will say about Oaklawn is the 1 is named Pretty Britches, and britches is a word I have been using for about 75 years. So right away I kind of drawn toward that.
Name play? Carl Broberg?
Yeah, it's definitely name play. Yeah, britches. For those of you that are under the age of 150, are pants, and I wear pants, and I think it makes sense. Oh, by the way, I put my britches on one leg at a time, except once I get my pants on, I'm the President of the United States.
Go off. All right, just a second.
I also, by the way, just in general terms, like Oaklawn because there's a lot of guys my age that are still training there.
Oh, this is true as well. You got Dwayne Lucas.
Yeah, we actually went to high school together.
Oh,
Yeah.
good guy.
Yeah, he's a good guy. He's a good guy. Nick Zito, who,
Oh, you know him, right?
yeah, for those of you kids out there, he used to win derbies. Good guy. He's 94. Great trainer. Good guy. Really nice guy. Um, so I think there's like, look, Oaklawn's a good place for my age, for my
All right.
bracket.
So, in terms of Oaklawn right now, Britches is your 3-1 favorite. Looks fine in terms of optics plot, but doesn't look like it has any edge over the 1 or the 5. I'm sorry, the 3 or the 5. 5 currently 7-2, 3 is 8-1, and the 8 3-1.
And how do you kind of see this race in terms of, how do you see it shaking out?
Um, I mean, the pace looks contentious, but it doesn't look fast. So I would I would give a look at the 5 and the 3, and the 1's fine. But just again, just in terms of price, doesn't have an edge from that perspective. So in terms of the 3, coming out of a race at Fairgrounds where the horse won, dueled wide, massive downpour during the race. Class-wise, this is a big step up. So it's a little bit soft from that standpoint, even though it looks fine on the plot. 5 looks good to me in terms of speed. Has some fast races on the main track. No finish here, but could kind of see some regression, kind of quick turnaround, and then coming in fresh. So the 1.
5,
The
by the way,
one.
also has that trainer that looks like Robert Irvine from Restaurant Impossible.
Does he? Oh, he does. You're right.
Yeah.
He does indeed.
I don't think that's on the plot, though. I didn't see that on the plot.
No, no. Yeah, the 8. I mean, the 8 it looks like pretty much true to form. I mean, just as a one-run closer, so needs a lot of luck. In terms of, I'm not necessarily that excited about the 8 as a win contender, just kind of with that style. Kind of see if there's anything else in here. An improved pattern coming back. Oh yeah, these are girls. Seems like the 7's part of that. So they're just gonna get a trip. Just a little bit soft on speed figures.
I left Ken Tohill off that list. Ken Tohill, the jockey of the 2, is also my age, and so keep that in mind.
What about maybe the
God bless him.
maybe the can kind of go from also is a little bit on the slower side. Second off the layoff was kickback last time out. So the kickback in this case kind of kept her further off the pace. Just taking dirt in her face and kind of got pushed back. And is getting that extra furlong. She's kind of interesting. I mean, in terms of optics plot, it's not crazy, but if you have this level of contention, might just kind of fall into a trip at 26-1. These are the kind of 26-1s that can win.
You can clunk up for a piece, right?
Yeah, exactly. Especially in a race like this, so it's kind of just like, I don't know. All these horses look pretty much look pretty similar, and just sort of similar in the sense it's like they need everything to go right in order to win.
Right.
Like,
and you also have with the 4.
Like had Flo both times that she was able to win. Nearly perfect trips way back last season. Last time out, kind of another perfect trip here.
Yeah, listen, if the 4 is going to improve, this would be the spot, right? Second off, was coming out of a kind of a lower level stake. Kind of last time that horse had a layoff, ran well. Second off, granted, forms off compared to compared to last year or kind of about a year and a half ago. But there's certainly things to like there.
I'll take a little stab. Could do worse than 26-1 in a chaos looking race. Yeah, then we'll go Gulfstream.
Keep your
watch this race here. Tidnell 121, thank you for the follow. Thank you for the push on Twitter. So the race info shows sunny contention. Am I thinking that adversely that affects the 8, correct? So the sun in this case shows, let me kind of pull up the plot again real quick on this. The sun in this case is that you have some contention in there, not fire. But I would look for a couple things in this case. So, yes, this horse needs a high contention rate, but also needs a high speed rate. And so these two things can be separate. You can have a lot of horses that want to be forwardly placed, but also horses that are slow, forwardly placed. So, which could kind of lead to a best of the speed type scenario. So for the eight needing that kind of fast pace, but she does have the best finish. So again, I mean, not impossible for the 8, but I would probably want a little bit more contention, a little bit more speed rate for her. Looks like the 3 ended up kind of getting that trip. The 5. Where's the 5? Yeah, the 5 getting that trip. And then Britches is gonna hold.
Yeah, 5-1-10.
5-1-10, and then the 8 kind of sneaking up for a piece. So in terms of closers, that's kind of two things I would look at, is make sure that you have that higher contention. The sun is fine, but then you'd want the higher speed rate. So the fact that this is only a 10 speed rate just kind of left the 8 just like pretty compromised in terms of pace with a lot of ground to make up. And she made a good run, had to go wide to make that move, but just not quite enough pace. For this spot. This track can get that trip. It does need some things to go right. Does that kind of help answer it? But I think in terms of like with a closer, you also want to make sure that you're getting a good price, not taking too short, because it's needing everything to go right, not just the pace, but then you've got to deal with, in this case, somewhat of a full field, dealing with kind of traffic to kind of get through on there. So Gulfstream will come up next. We got 9 minutes at Gulfstream. 9 to the 9. And I know that you kind of looked at Gulfstream a little bit more than some of these other races.
Yeah, I mean, this is kind of the bit of a field that I kind of don't see a way to, kind of play the race and kind of, maximize the potential here. I just think the 7's probably going to be too good. Obviously, the price isn't there. There's really, I don't see anything clever to kind of try to play underneath and make sense of it. So I think this is one of those particular races where you just kind of watch it, see what happens, move forward, and there's enough other kind of opportunities throughout the day. I mean, you have a potential, pleasure monster, and I don't know. Kind of, there's really nothing else other than the 3 that I would even kind of consider on top, and certainly not at 4-1. So, I mean, I don't know if you feel any differently. I just didn't see anything to get kind of clever with or cute with and just kind of turn the page. And, there's 1,000 other races today. So,
there's, so I agree in terms of the 7, ran a solid big race on debut, B+. So B+ meaning did more than what it takes to win, and then can often step up in class and compete. And an 86 optics figure, which is one of the top for the range and of the horses that have run in this field. I'm a little negative on the 3, and kind of here's why. First time out, C and wide, and then they went to main claiming, got a good race there. Didn't do much improvement for the second start in terms of speed figures. And then improved last time out in terms of another optics figure. So to me, coming back in 28 days, this is just a really big jump in terms of like kind of after you pair up 80s to then run a 92 to then kind of expect to run that same race right back. if that makes sense. So to me, it looks like I can see why people are playing the horse. She's getting good, figuring it out, blah blah blah. I think there's going to be a ceiling, and we might see it today. And currently 4-1 is not great. Where the 2, I can make a case that there is some upside there. First time out, Ian Wilkes, those horses do not often run. You kind of see their ability. Second time out, she ran a B race, so even though she didn't win, B is still considered a winning type effort, so to speak. And it's kind of a sneaky race in terms of how that race was run. Was very slow early, so the fact that she had to make up ground to kind of close in is a little bit of an upgrade, in my opinion. And then did improve and did have to close into a slow pace in order to break her maiden, and ran an 81 there. And now she's been off a little over 2 months. So with these horses, they're young. This is her first start at 3. There's improvement potential. So knowing that 81, there could be a move forward. She's probably the closest, in my opinion, to the 7 that could be in the same, kind of the same ballpark, and a better price on the number 2. So again, I mean, there's nothing for me to knock on the 7. Kind of looks like everybody else, a little bit light. Maybe look at maybe the 6, kind of the same case, similar to the 2. They've been running her kind of longer, it seems, in terms of that sense. She was pressed. She had a setup a little bit in terms of pace for the debut. Was pressed here. Kind of got a flow upgrade that day. It kind of seems like her best races, in terms of best being the fastest races, are when she has the flow in her favor. So it could be a little bit dressed up on that point. It's pretty cold on the board considering. So I think right now the value is the 2, like kind of 7-2, because the two could pop up. That kind of makes sense.
Yeah, the 2 strikes is one of those horses that you might see in like April or later in the spring or the summer as being like a really really good horse. Sometimes, like you said, the Wilkes take a little bit. He takes time to develop them. He's patient. He's not pushing them.
Yeah.
So over time, those horses tend to get better. It's just timing. When they actually show that big jump up on the track is what gets tricky a little bit with the patient trainers.
Right. It seems like there's enough upside there. She's shown enough class at this point to make that move forward. Joe knows Gulfstream 9 the 2 clunk up underneath. I like what I'm hearing about the 2 with the 7's debut pace too soft to warrant such a short price. I would say I see what you're saying, but also it's kind of like I think that was probably like out of her control, and she's still just like crushed. So I'm not negative on the 7. Like the way I kind of made the case as far as the 6, where I was kind of more negative on her good races. I can't quite get there with the 7 yet. I mean, I'm not going to tell anybody to jump out and bet the 7 at 3-5 for any reason, but I have a hard time, being against the 7 at this point. Seems fine enough. Kind of look ahead. It looks like we'll have gets a little bit tight after this, but Fairgrounds, the 2nd at Santa Anita, and then the 5th at Oaklawn. On Fairgrounds. Let's see if there's anything real quick, and we can kind of skip if needed. Yeah, I mean, could definitely clunk up underneath, but I also think is probably maybe the biggest threat to the 7 in some ways. I have a hard time seeing anybody else being a threat to the 7. I mean, the 3, could definitely prove me wrong, but I think at a short price, I'm willing to let her prove me wrong. All right, we got a maiden claiming race at Unfairgrounds with the 9 as the current favorite.
Well, the 8's an auto toss. Oof.
Yeah. Maybe a few months ago might have had a chance. Looks okay on the plot though. I'm surprised I haven't pissed off anybody with the Bernie shirt, but I said I was going to do it. Let's look at the 9. So the 9 last time out ran a B grade at this level, broke slow, made a move. I want to kind of look at the pace on there. Certainly, potentially taxing after the slow start to finish clear at the wire. Perfect trip winner. The top 2 were clear. Well, she's been off for 45 days, so that to me is a positive. If she came back on, or he came back on shorter rest, I'd be a little bit concerned. But it looks like they did right by this horse resting a little bit, so certainly makes sense. As far as the 8, we'll see if we get a little bit of a toss here. I don't know if it's a toss. These 2 route races back at Churchill Downs are both speed figures that are right in line with the 77 ran last out. So, possible. Does have a barn change in this case, but does have those races. Not quite a toss. Looks a little tossy here. Looks a little bit below. I'm going to go longer here today. Second off. Field spaced out behind the lone winner, the wide trip. They were running for cheaper and shorter and not winning at Woodbine. Tough to have some confidence there. Pull up a board here just so I have some numbers to work with. The 8 currently 6-1, the 7 25. The 6 a little bit soft, but is getting class relief. Third off, had wide and tactic, wide and on hold, not great, coming off the layoff, and then a wide trip last time out on the turf. Some upside here, you could make a case. Still pretty soft. A B- last time out at this level. It was in a blanket for place. That 4th place finish. I don't know if this horse necessarily wants to go 2 turns. Currently 11-1. The 4 just hasn't done anything, just looks slow. 3 is kind of similar to the 6. Getting some class relief. Seems fine on the main track. Nothing too exciting. 3-1, so kind of a second choice type. Slog and wide, second off. Let's see if there's any upside here. Chase wide and on hold from off the pace. Top 4 finishing clear at the wire. Pretty stabby. Have to hate everybody else. The 1 certainly seems to make sense as well. Blanket for place behind pace setting winner. So yeah, I feel like the public kind of has this race pretty well covered as far as the 9 being a legitimate favorite in this sense. The only horse that's run a B at this level, pretty much the only green on the entire grid. The 1 and 3 logical kind of second choices, and then the 8 takes up that role. So nothing too exciting from me there. Aaron might try to get the 1 in the number. I think the 3 should run in the Gulfstream race. Yeah, I don't know, Aaron, if you just jumped on or not, but I kind of made a case against the 3, but certainly, runs back to the effort last time out. Certainly makes sense in this spot. I'm suspect that she runs back to it. It just kind of seems like where that race came from was a little bit out of nowhere, and people thinking she's going to do it again, and I'm trying to zig and zag in this case, but could be wrong. Might try to get the 1 in the number. Let's look at the 1 again. Yeah, I could see it for sure. The layoff lines, are noted, but did run some good races at special weight. Didn't fare that well in a stakes race. But what happened there? What was the pace? Fast early, so a little bit of a flow upgrade. Back at Calder, was able to win, and then faltered. So, just the biggest question to me right now is, she just hasn't run well in stakes races. So in terms of class and speed, this is kind of a step up, but 25-1 to get a share underneath. Why not? Been getting beat by a favorite. Go
It's
ahead.
not the deepest field that you'll ever see either. So
Yeah, yeah. I mean, the one doesn't look any further below than most of these others, so could certainly get a piece on that front. They are going to the gate, and then we'll go to see if there's anything exciting at Santa Anita. If that's just kind of worth passing. Do you have my today's best bet race? It's currently favored. That's no fun. All right, they're off at Gulfstream. Two had trouble at the start, broke slow, and took contact from both sides. Just kind of way off the pace there. I like how the this like always cracks me up. It's like a 40-1 shot who's made like a lone lead, and then the jockey's like, "I'm gonna rate this horse."
yeah,
like,
brilliant.
son, you gotta go. like,
Yeah, you got to go.
you made the front.
It's
You're
your
on
one
40 to
chance.
1.
Yeah,
You have one job at this
you
point,
got
my
one
friend.
job, your one chance.
Pedal to the metal and
Yeah,
don't look back. 7 starting to loom up. 6 kind of trying a little bit, not doing much. 3's chasing inside, not today for the 3. The 2 just got who knows what could have been. But 5 kind of looks like the biggest threat to the 7 at this point. Um, no excuse for the 7. We'll say that
no,
much.
not at all.
6 starting to close in. That was that Romans horse that kind of gets those
Yeah,
flow
just
upgrades.
on the rail, big move on the rail there for the 1.
There's the 1, yeah.
Yeah.
Nice. So
Listen,
7.
that's not the way. If you had one of those big win bets on the pleasure chalk, that is not a race that you felt comfortable with turning for home there.
No, definitely not. But you know what? It's one of those races too where I think people are going to be like, not that great. But it was actually kind of a sneaky good effort because the pace wasn't that crazy. And you remember like the first call, she's wide and off the pace, so she has to move up kind of into that slow pace. So it's kind of like a subtle like good trip that just like visually it doesn't look that great because the way that, the finish is, but you can see even like the race is starting to fall apart late, and she had to make that move early and do so wide. Um, so I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I think it's a better than looked effort. But I agree. I mean, yeah, turning for home starts going under a drive. You're like, oh boy.
Yeah, I went to the whip too. Yeah, Saez was went to the whip, kind of starting around the final turn there. So, um, but listen, they're young horses and still got the job done.
Yeah. So the keep an eye on fairgrounds race, but I think the Oaklawn race is interesting. This is a race I wrote up for Circles and Squares on Brisnet, and made a case against the number 3, who I figured was the morning line favorite, and figured would be the favorite because you have Brad Cox, and anytime Brad Cox horses look like a favorite at Oaklawn Park, they just get overbet. And I mean, they're legitimate. I think in this spot, talking about the number 3 coach, I think that coming into this race, making the case for her as the horse to beat, I kind of started my analysis from that standpoint. Makes sense. Let me pull up the grid kind of as well, because I think it's kind of important to kind of go through kind of race by race in terms of intent. Uh, what's the grid? Cooperates, that is. The plot hit here while that's loading is red, and you can just kind of see, I mean, it doesn't really line up on the diagonal necessarily, and we also are dealing with lightly raced horses, newly turned 3-year-olds for the most part. Let me pull that in there. So Coach, she debuted at Indiana Grand, which I do the notes there. I'm not going to knock Indiana Grand. I love the racing there, but clearly Brad Cox has horses on other circuits. That the fact that she's debuting at Indiana Grand and not Saratoga in August is says something. But ran well enough. B race first time out, and again, I think that's important because it is a B race. And even though she wins by 4 1/4, not anything too crazy. Does get the B plus next time out. Made a move, drew off late. Outside stalking trip, moved to take the lead, clear in hand. Some improvement here. Did improve. Goes to Churchill Downs. Rags to riches. Wins that race. Then maybe a little bit exposed in the goldenrod because the trip was good for her. She had the chance. You can even kind of see it in the running line where she's in position to win that race, and the other two horses, the first and second place finishers, whose names I can't remember right now, but one of them's a Stone Street runner. Oh, Clairiere, we should know that. Clairiere was
Yep.
he was the second place finisher, I believe, of that race. But yeah, anyways, coach, didn't really have any excuse, and the fact that they go from a grade 2, now they're going to run in a listed stake. Where if it was like a good third place finish, that was encouraging. They'd probably push forward 2 graded stakes, but the fact that they kind of come back. So just from that perspective, I mean, she's steadily improving, but with the horses from this barn, they kind of show. And similar for Baffert. Baffert's the same way, where it's like his horses, they run fast numbers early, and then it's just a matter of maintaining those fast numbers, if that makes sense. Where a lot of their trainers kind of develop, and you start seeing the speed figures improve. Yeah, so I mean, she's fine. From that standpoint, looks fine in the plot. Should get a good trip, whatever. But there's just something that's as an individual, not overly classy, just kind of fits in order to kind of justify a 4 to 5 price. So the second, the number 1 is 8 to 5, and I'm against her in here. I know she's run those fast speed figures, but had the track profile at Keeneland. That was on the undercard, the Friday undercard. On Breeders' Cup Day, where everything on the front end was just, there really wasn't much change in running order, and then had a Tactics Plus, so just got, pretty much a perfect trip last time out as the favorite. And the fact they're going to stretch out around 2 turns today, she did run the Frazette at Belmont, but that's a 1-turn mile. It was her worst race. So there's just a lot to kind of overcome from that perspective in order to take a current 8 to 5 price. That doesn't excite me at all. With her trying to carry her speed around 2 turns for the first time, so no value there. The 2 is pretty soft, pretty slow, but again, kind of gonna have to send. Probably gonna be a pest for 1. So even though she should be fourthly placed, not quite there. I'm going to circle back to the 4 because I think that's kind of the key. The number 6, Sylvia Q, has speed as well. Legit speed. She's shown in quadrant 3, but to the first call, so that's furthest left, she can keep pace with the 1 and then has more finish in terms of, the distance, which this is keying in on the Frazette, even though it's not 2 turns. The 6 has been tested around 2 turns, holding her form. For the most part, running on some fast paces. So, and also just in terms of the track configuration at Oaklawn Park, because where this race starts is it goes right into that first turn. So it's the 6 has to send in here. The number 5, stablemate to the 1. She has some upside, and I think the upside comes with the outside post. Her 2 quote unquote poor races were the inside draw. She was just totally uncomfortable throughout in the goldenrod. I don't know how good she is, but I think there could be a move forward just because of that post position change. And then, like I said, the key to me is the 4, Secret. She's improved with each race. Even her debut was a B. First time out for Dallas Stewart, another trainer that doesn't necessarily crank first time out. And then I just think in the second start, they rushed her back too quick, 16 days. Broke slow, was wide, and still improved her speed figure. Improved her speed figure here, and this is kind of the key race to me because the horse that won this race is Clairiere. So Will Secret is 2 1/4 behind Clairiere, and Coach is 3 1/2. Now I know it's not things being equal in this case, but it just kind of shows that there's some similarities. And we're currently talking 7 to 1 over 4 to 5, so no brainer in terms of value. And improved last time out. Came off the layoff, 56-day break. Was warm, wide. She just passed on the track. But obviously, if she's warm, she can win warm. But that was just a really like solid effort. Raced a little bit closer to the pace, a wide trip, stalking in the second flight, and took over strongly. So, yeah, I mean, I just think the 4 she should get a good trip. The 1-6, the 2 wants to be forwardly placed. She has enough finish. Should be, speed rate is 50. Should be enough pace for her. And again, I'm not afraid to take on the 1 and the 3 in this spot. So I don't know. What do you guys think? POTUS, did you get the prunes kicking in? Nap time again? Oh god, did I drop the call? Well, I put POTUS Capper to sleep. We'll update over at Fairgrounds.
Yeah, sorry.
Were you on mute?
Well, I was taking a little bit of nap, and
Okay.
my bedtime's coming up at 5, so.
You don't have to tell me twice.
Yeah, the nine romped at the fairgrounds.
Yeah,
That's a good call.
Yeah, looked pretty good there. What happened?
So ultimately, when you, in the case at Oaklawn, where you have a short field with 2 high-profile trainers, taking all the money, and you like other kind of horses in the field, how do you what's your way, or what's your preferred way to kind of handle that from a betting standpoint?
I mean, in a betting standpoint, I didn't play it today, but I would be because I just wasn't sure of like what the track was going to be and all that. But best bet won at Santa Anita. I would single the 4 here, and I'm betting the 4 here. I 4-3 is a logical outcome, but I'd rather just put the win money, if that makes sense. Because it's not like I have a lot of confidence for the 3 to run second, but also I could see the 3 running second. And I wouldn't want to go, 4, 2, 5, I mean, then it's just stabbing. I think that the price is fair enough for a win bet. What about you? What would you
Yeah, I think anytime you're, it's especially in a short field like that, you run the risk of getting too cute if you take it kind of any other way. I mean, it is a nice kind of, I would say, the way people play horizontal wagers, that is a good place to kind of key a horse like that in doubles and pick 3s as well, if you have strong enough opinions in the other races, because so many people pound chalk with with the horizontals. So that can be a good kind of way to formulate a wager as well. Obviously assuming that the other races, fit your fancy. So the last thing you want to do is, be right with your strongest opinion, and then, water it down a bit by, not being able to actually cash the ticket. So, obviously anytime you think you're getting fair value on the win end, that's the easiest way to immediately maximize your value.
Josh Allen 1793 likes the 4 as well. All
right.
Got some steam. Got not weight. We just got a good energy on it. Make a little play. Got some other stuff coming up. The 10th at Gulfstream. 20 to Fairgrounds. 25 to Santa Anita. So we'll stick at Gulfstream. Kind of close out. There. I can actually, while waiting, kind of get Gulfstream on deck. Santa Anita has those stake races, but they're later on in the day. Did you get a chance to look at those stake races, or is that past your bedtime?
It might be past my bedtime. We'll see how it goes.
Okay.
You know what? Jill just put some Sanka on, so I might be okay.
I think that 3-year-old steak today is really tough. The Robert Lewis. I don't know if you looked at that race or not.
I did not yet, but I would
Okay.
imagine since it's Santa Anita, I can kind of check out all 4 horses pretty quickly.
I should look and see if there's scratches. Let's see. Let's see the plots. We do have a scratch who was not going to factor, but we got 6 horses in this race. 2 Baffords, 2 O'Neills, a Sheriff's, and a Callahan.
There you go.
So not quite the 5-horse field, but the usual suspects have it. Keeping the numbers.
They're in the gate for the Martha Washington.
Yeah, I got it. All right, you guys, let's get this 4. Let's beat this 3. Oh, the 4's going to show speed today? Okay, interesting. I don't know if that's necessarily a bad thing, but we shall see. The 6, like I said, with that first run into the first turn, kind of had to go, lost some ground, see how fast they're going.
23.6.
Pretty average. One being inside, trying to rate speed there. Could work out. Field's kind of bunched. 5 started to lose ground. 3's going to move early. 4, I think they were just trying to ride the 4 for positional speed, but I don't know if that was necessarily a good tactic. But not a bad trip at this point. 5, as we said, losing ground. The 2 was that sprinter that was a little slow, but I like where the 4 is right now.
Yeah, Court's making that move. That's the right time to make it.
Yeah.
Listen, no excuses. If he's good enough or she's good enough, that's a hell of a ride.
3 is done cakes. 6 is done cakes. Let's beat the sprinter.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Got it.
Draw.
Beautiful. Well done. Well done. Beautiful. With ease, drawing off.
Ooh.
And a 3 is going to get second.
Yeah. So
very nicely done, Emily, and the gentleman that.
Josh Allen, 1793, likes the 4 as
Josh
well.
Allen.
Great. Yeah.
Great quarterback and good handicapper.
Oh.
Well done.
How do you know he's a quarterback?
Josh Allen's quarterback of the Bills.
Oh. So we have a celebrity in it?
We do. We have 2 celebrities.
2 celebrities, so, right?
Yeah.
And we have Frank Sinatra. We have Frank Sinatra too.
Another friend of mine from high school.
Emily, great call. Thank you. Everybody, good.
That's
good
well done. Listen, I think that, and here's kind of the benefit of what Emily does, is most people would have looked at that race and kind of just, especially when you get 2 high-profile trainers like that in a short field, that's kind of the value of optics, and that's kind of the value of somebody like Emily that has seen, approximately a gajillion races, is that she can break it down and kind of see things that listen, at this point in my handicapping career, I don't have the time to kind of be that in depth, and for her to be able to do that kind of work. You see that horse drew off, won easily. If you looked at kind of traditional past performances, like for instance I'm doing, in concert with optics, you would not kind of find that horse. That's really the value of what they do. And I'm saying this not as an advertisement, but as a user and certainly as a friend for sure. But what they do at optics is not like what anybody else is doing. It's 3-dimensional. It's complete. Again, it's horse racing's a capricious type thing. So there's so many moving parts. There's so many things you're never going to be able to account for. Certainly with some of the sorcery that goes on as well. and kind of other things. Like, for instance, you're never going to know if a horse had throat surgery. That's not going to show up in the past performances. So just the fact that that kind of legwork, like, you're not going to find that too many other places. So I mean, it's pretty amazing. So well done.
Yeah, thank you so much. And LeBron, thank you. Yeah, it's great. I mean, stand out 8-1, like, doesn't happen that often. But again, it was like the key to the race was, knowing the Radcox horse is fine, but is gonna be overbet. And, kind of going to the fact of, like, with the standard pass performances, which most people have, which is another advantage of having optics, is you're kind of being contrarian, right? So most people have, they're looking at the form and it's like, oh, the 3 is a cinch. Like, they can't beat this horse. She's too good. She's too fast. She's too, got the good trainer. It's like all these things. It's, coming out of that stakes race, like them not saying like, well, she had every chance in there, like all those types of things that, kind of go along with it, where, the way that we're looking at it is there's not much difference. And in fact, obviously the 4 has, much more higher ceiling, at this point. That was good.
Well, I think the other thing too, Emily, is when you look at kind of standard past performances and you look at the past performances of the 4, and so many people key in on that bold-faced number, whether you're using DRF or Briz, you're looking at that speed figure. I mean, you can't help it. I think it's just kind of inherently what people do, is you get gravitated toward the speed figure. So if you look at the 4, and I'm just, have the DRF out, runs a 72. When you kind of compare that to, in a maiden special.
Where's the 72? Because I have optics right now. Was that what?
For the 72, I'm looking at the Bayer from the last race. So when you kind of compare,
wow.
Yeah, so when you compare it to the rest of the field, you'd say, okay, like, again, like, the 1 runs anything near what it ran last time, it should crush on paper. And then the combination of, as you said, like the 3 coming out of a stake, with the high price, with the 40% trainer, with the kind of gaudy drills, and you say to yourself, this horse that took four races to break his maidens just doesn't stack up, and you kind of flip the page and go on. That's why it's obviously there's more to it than that, and I think getting kind of beyond the speed figure is really important, and kind of taking the 10-15 minutes to really kind of go horse by horse like you did.
Well, and I mean also too, I mean, you're talking about the speed figure. That's crazy because optics has the Will Secret's last the optics fig for that is an 88 for that maiden race on December 20th. And Coach ran an 88 optics figure in the Rags to Riches, and then an 89 in the Goldenrod. So again, I mean, if people are looking at the set, and most people, using the form, it's like the 6 is going to be slow, which is another piece of information I didn't even have. But I mean, maybe would have bet more in that case, knowing that was part of why she wasn't taking that much money, is people just didn't realize. But we have that number, I mean, which is probably, clearly it's right on the money. What do you make of the no Lasix impact on the stakes races at Gulfstream Park? Any takeaways for future races? So far it's too early for me to tell or to try to project on that. Because if they're gonna bleed, nobody's gonna know until they bleed, and then it's too late. So, and again, this is just kind of like a new thing we're all figuring out. I haven't seen really any. There's nothing. I shouldn't say any, but there's nothing that's really top of the mind right now. That's like this horse that should have won or should have run well didn't run well because of Lasix. Do you know what I'm saying? Like we're able to make the case here, like logically, why these horses are running good and bad races, and it's hard for me to, at this point, again off memory, get $18 on Will's Secret, by the way. For Lasix being that one factor. So it's just, again, it's too hard for me to tell. I'm trying to just not pay attention to it at this point until it's giving me a reason to pay attention to it, if that makes sense. Pull up Gulfstream 10. We have 4 minutes. There seems plenty of time. Oh, Candace O, is that your pick in this race?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of kind of names that are churning my stomach today.
Yeah.
Well, what are you going to do? I mean, it's a free country, and if you want to be an idiot, you're free to be an idiot.
Um, Currently, the number 4 is the favorite. Um, had lone trips. Let's see if she's gonna get a lone trip here. Maybe. So hard to tell. We don't have the greatest plot fit here. On surface and distance, a little bit. On standard, not so much. Hard to tell. I guess the 7 horse is going to be the kind of the deciding factor on that. But I mean, 2 lone trips. Again, another horse that hasn't really improved much. Um, Not overly excited about
No,
her at 2-1, if I'm being
no.
perfectly honest. Um, I mean, the 2 could show speed here. Didn't really last time out. And I think they'll probably, since Conlima won that race alone, Honey Pants finishing second, it's probably going to be a little bit closer to the pace today. I would imagine. Um, and then let's see in terms of plot. Yeah, they have her like right there. So that certainly makes sense. On that front, this is a pretty good. A little slow. Maybe not. Where's the 1? A little slow. We haven't seen too many closers on the turf. We had a B plus last time out. This looks exciting. Worked her way into a pocket spot on the backstretch. Had to wait to angle out. Closed strongly. Looks to have a future on the grass. I like that. 3-1.
Which one is that?
That's the 5.
Yeah, so the 5 was the one I earmarked. There's a couple other things to like. I think the stretch out on the grass, that November 21st effort where the horse stretched out and clearly found itself, got a little bit of a break. What I like is, again, I'm looking at kind of standard speed figures, is there's a pretty good speed figure, especially relative to its other races, as a kind of late in the season 2-year-old. And oftentimes when you see a break between the late in the season 2-year-olds and as a 3-year-old, in January and February, they often take a pretty big step up. Whereas some of these other horses, the 4 and the 2 coming out of that stakes race, where they weren't dazzling by any means, have kind of flattened out a bit. So I think there's a lot more upside in a horse like the 5 that's stretching out again for a patient trainer. Clearly can get the route distance and relished it the last time, and should at least has a reason to improve versus the 2 and the 4. I think we've kind of seen what they can do, and I don't know that they're necessarily improve off those efforts from the last race. So I think there's a lot to like on the 5.
Yeah, agree. Joe knows with you on the 5, POTUS. So, and I'm with you too. I'm currently got a little drift since we were talking. From 3-1 to 7-2. In terms of names, my dog's name is Frost. So,
well, there you go.
So we have that going.
That's really the most important thing.
How about the 1? We talked about the 1 just being like maybe a little bit too slow in terms of speed figures coming off a maiden win. See the difference? I mean, this is where grades can be. I mean, maybe underneath, maybe a share underneath. Why not? It certainly kind of has that kind of closer maybe piece. But a B grade in special weight versus like a B plus grade for special weight is just like a completely different class level. Even if like the speed figure is the same, that it makes a big difference. So I would look at that. We'll just kind of go through this real quick. Had another B plus close. Chad Brown horse is pretty cold on the board, currently 6-1. And again, this is kind of similar to Coach in some ways, and kind of similar to another favorite we beat yesterday. So we'll just kind of look at this. She breaks or debuts at Saratoga, runs a B, which Chad Brown's horses are live. And they go to Pimlico, dual no finish. So I mean, there's some confidence there. But then runs at Tampa. Like, why wouldn't you run at Gulfstream?
Right.
If she's that good, why are you running at Tampa? I mean, no knock on Tampa, but
Well, who also used to do that as well as that, and I don't know because I don't follow it as closely as Pletcher used to. He sends all his second string to Tampa.
Yeah.
It's got to be similar with Brown.
Or in the summer, Monmouth. When you see the Monmouth,
right.
The Pletchers and the Chad Browns at Monmouth, they're kind of like the second string. So that just to me, and the fact that she's pretty cold on the board, just got 5-1 morning line. It's 5-1 right now. 7 probably going to be our pace setter. It has to be, stretching out, showed speed, sprint. Some upside on the 8. Eight's kind of looking a little interesting to me. Ran a couple good races. Not the best. That was kind of a barn change in here. What happened with this horse? Where did that barn change? Maybe privately purchased after her first 3 starts.
Yeah, barn change from Ham to Cassie after that third
Yeah.
start, and they went right for the Grillo, so right for the graded stakes off that change.
Yeah, and then pretty good race time out. So I think there's some upside with the 8. So I'm kind of 5-8 in here in this race.
Yeah, I think the two and the 4 are the ones to definitely take the stand against.
Yeah, especially the 4. I mean, I think the 4 is kind of easy to take that one on. All right, they're going in here. Going in. All right. Guys, we had a good session right now. If you haven't already, hit the follow to just get updated when the stream goes live. It also kind of helps out, the channel as far as like Twitch and all that stuff too. So it's much appreciated if you guys can do that. Follow and oh, it's snowing. Not at Gulfstream.
Yeah, that would be a problem.
But I have a wall that's windows and one of them open, and to kind of see when it was coming through. Starting to snow. Let's see if we'll get that 10 extra 10 inches as expected. So 4 is going on in front and is uncontested for the most part. 7 kind of putting a little bit of pressure on. 3 is in the pocket, and they're all kind of bunching up. 5 is in kind of some trouble, a little bit tight, a little bit of stress kind of inside. The 8 is on hold and wide. Again, another trip I just don't understand. It's like you have to either let the horse just go at that point. You're already in like the worst possible spot you could be in. So, yeah, I don't know. I don't know why you'd want to like waste the horse's energy more than you needed to at this point, but we'll see.
Right.
Maybe she's just best.
She might be best, but it does lead to some flat action in the stretch when you do that.
Yeah, the 5 has horse. 5 has a lot of horse right now, and she's just
You can find a way to go.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely buried inside this whole time. No excuse for the 4 because she had pretty mild pace. Just doesn't look like she's got some finish. There's the 5. 5 got
There's
to
the 5. He's got to go now. Yep.
All right. 3 is going to be able to not come through because idling. Come on, 5. You should have no excuse
5 got
at
it.
this point. Let's
go. Cinch, Emily.
Cinch. Back-to-back great price too. 9-2 in the end.
9-2.
Shit.
Easy game, right?
Easy game. Another, could quit now and call it a profitable day.
That's right.
Yeah, great call. I mean, that horse was so loaded, like inside, just like so much.
Wasn't the best of trips either until he got clear,
No, terrible trip. Like, not that terrible, but like was not comfortable. She was obviously had a lot of class because a lot of horses like they'll get intimidated with that trip. They're just like, forget it. I'm not doing this.
I honestly, at least again, like I don't play the races as nearly as often as I used to, but that is a kind of time-tested angle. Are those late in the season 2-year-old horses that put up a pretty decent race, show a nice speed figure? If they're as long as they're healthy and you see those kind of regimented drills and it's a good trainer and they end up in a spot that makes sense. I hate to say well spotted, but well spotted. That's a huge angle because these horses improve massively. I mean, they're like little kids and they're just kind of learning their way. And sometimes we forget they're animals and, they mature quite a bit during that time. So I think it's a good angle.
Yeah, for sure. And especially, with her as well, B plus, even though it wasn't like, kind of your point, necessarily like the fastest, flashiest speed figure. It's like she's showing visually there's a lot more there and giving her that time to develop. I mean, this to me is kind of another B plus effort, which is pretty pretty solid to kind of go from a maiden right to like a B plus graded stake is
Now,
pretty.
would you say the four, in some ways, like got a pretty easy lead, was somewhat exposed there in
Oh
terms
yeah,
of, I think kind of what we said going into the race was correct moving forward, which is we might have seen kind of the best that horse has to offer because in a setup like that, if the horse really, not to say the horse doesn't have talent, but if the horse were destined for better, should have drawn off there.
yeah, yeah, exactly. I mean, especially at Gulfstream where it's like if you're getting an inside moderate pace on the lead without much pressure, there's no excuse for you, especially if you're
Right.
the favorite. I mean, well, you caught the 16-1 that got that trip, and it is able to kind of like go clear. So yeah, I think exposed is kind of the perfect way to put it because they come back to graded stakes races, especially with some pressure. Then it's really in trouble. Checking on the chat, Emily and POTUS, unbelievable. Josh Allen, 1793, thank you so much. Yeah, 5, great picking, nice job, Joe. I know you're on that horse as well. So excellent. Another just kind of a top pick horse that just got completely dismissed by the public. Kind of pick our spots. They're going in the gate at the fairgrounds 6th. It's kind of too quick to look at that, but 8 was the favorite. Looks fine to me as kind of that same angle. Well, we do have a B here. Kind of looks like 8 and 3. We'll see how that result is, but kind of not much. Just kind of quick handicapping on that. Oaklawn 6 is coming up, and then the 3rd at Santa Anita. Preference?
I think I mean, if depending on what the rest of the folks think, I think the sixth at Oaklawn's interesting. 12-horse field. Be really interested to hear your thoughts on it. I know you know Oaklawn well and follow it.
Let's take a look. So I try at Oaklawn because I writing the circles and squares. It's like for me, it's just kind of like the right outlet for me. I mean, I don't mind doing full card, but it's just like we're playing these races here. Sometimes it's just a race you pass, right? And when I'm
Sure.
doing full card, I don't have that. I don't have that
Right.
liberty. I can't just be like pass, So I gotta come up
Right.
with something. But like at what I'm doing at Oaklawn and then what I do for Woodbine is I'm trying to be creative and come up with like some bets and some plays and like a tougher strategy in a way than just being like here's the most likely winner on the card, like look at me, I did it, that type of
Right.
thing. So I didn't write about this race, so either one of two things. I either thought that the favorite was solid or just was like kind of too chaotic to kind of have an opinion. So I'm gonna like handicap it like right now, basically.
Yeah, I mean, I think what's interesting about a race like this, and obviously this is kind of unique to optics, and you and I joke about these horses that refer to as quadders that are the squares that kind of find themselves right at the kind of intersection of the two axes. But there is something to it. I think it shows. You look at the 5 here. Obviously, taking a lot of money was 10-1 mornings, getting pounded, kind of second off after showing a pretty good race. I'm sorry, just first off the layoff after showing a good race. But you get these horses that kind of have versatility from a pace standpoint. So when you see those kind of squares that are right at the intersection of the X and Y, it's basically saying like almost regardless of what happens within reason of the pace, here's a horse that's had some versatility. So it's kind of an interesting angle to consider. When you're looking at that.
So with that said, and we kind of go, I mean, the 5 logical, but at 2-1 kind of seems like
Yeah.
an underlay. So we have
Yeah.
the 9, the 2, kind of using kind of the same thing. I mean, the 10 and the 9 and the 2 are sort of in that same spot. Where's the 12? Yeah, I mean, even the 12. So maybe, maybe we can kind of lean that direction. Sort of look at those horses, kind of go through that approach, or kind of go through.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, when you look at the 12, for instance, so you've got, kind of these Arkansas breds. Obviously not the highest class level, that has been off for, since May. I know the game's changed quite a lot, but I mean, listen, that would be an absolute pass in years past. I know it doesn't necessarily work like that anymore, but that's a long layoff. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean the problem. I have the 12 pulled up right now. You can kind of see. I'll go through race by race, and where I can definitely kind of I can see this horse winning, but also I'm willing to kind of take her on. Let's see what the number is right now on the board. I can take her on 5-1. So she came off the layoff last year, 91-day layoff, dueled. So remember, if she tries to do that, she's on the far outside. She's going to have to use. This is a much longer layoff. Seems to win as the best of the speed, but did kind of need a couple races to kind of get into gear. So that's sort of another tell that she might benefit from this race. And then also, and those were longer. Oh, this is a prep. This is a total prep for longer. I'm seeing it now. Sprint to route. So they ended up running her in a sprint. It's kind of maybe it was like the only condition, kind of closing out the end of the meet there. But broke slow, move safe. But she's a 2-turn speed horse. You kind of seen that?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So it seems like a prep. All right.
Yeah.
That was good. Okay. So 9 is the favorite. That was one of the other horses we wanted to look at. So we'll keep it on the 5. If the 5 drifts, then that's that. Another layoff type here. But Brad Cox, maybe that's part of it. She's fine. You know, Nothing too exciting. I don't know. I think people being like, oh, he's gonna move her up that much. I don't know in this case. Coming off the layoff, kind of runs 83, sort of, I don't know, is fine, unexciting.
Yeah. I mean, you've got one, two, three, four. You have 6 horses in this race with a 100-day layoff or more.
Yeah.
4 of them are 200 days or longer. So it's tricky.
Right. And yeah, I mean that kind of happens, because of this meet being,
Sure,
because
the
of the
Arkansas bred.
Arkansas breds. But
Yeah,
it's it seems like the 4 being another one. Currently 11-1, probably a pace setter. I mean, the 4, I know Aaron said this yesterday. Our Frank Sinatra celebrity. 4 did win off the layoff at Oaklawn. I was just going to bring you up because the last time we were in chat, you said you don't like to bet speed horses off the layoff. This is the speed horse off the layoff. Where are you at on the 4? Easy loan. I mean, could get loan. But it seems like there's some other horses that are going to kind of mix it up. Some of these horses with recency, the number 1 has some recency, has a better than looked. But it's a horse that always breaks slow, and it breaks slow from the rail. Could be trouble. Could be bigly trouble. Yeah, it kind of turns into a deep closer at that point. 33-1, maybe a good one to kind of key underneath. I know, but he showed he could run off the layoff. Yeah. Okay. So a conditional type angle. I see. Okay. Where's some of the other ones? The 10? I think the 10 was one of those other quaddies. A little bit more recency. I don't know. This one kind of makes sense.
yeah. I mean, you got a horse that's been an open company and or non-state bred company and faring reasonably well.
Right. Yeah. I mean, somewhat, and I don't mind like the layoff in this case because they're obviously like, we got to get her back with state bred. We just got to wait it out at this point. So she seems.
I think fine. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was gonna say I think the 8 Uchi is probably pretty ouchy.
Yeah. 250-day layoff. CC and another ouchie. Ouchie.
Yeah, Uchi's ouchie.
No complaints here. All right. 7 looks a little slow. What about the 6? We didn't talk about the 6. 6 at 20-1. Another horse with a layoff. Has some good races here. Has some good races at this allowance level. Not winning races, but that horse is kind of sneaky.
A little sneaky, and you get Drew on, so
Yeah. 20 to 1.
Not the worst. Not the worst.
20 to 1. You just.
It's kind of it's like a wide open race without a strong opinion, you know?
Yeah. Let's look at just kind of this. The horses that ran at this allowance condition last year. Yeah, there's no standouts. The 9, who's currently the favorite at 2 to 1, has the one race where it's a B, but that was a blanket finish. Put to a drive. And then you've got these B minuses. So this one's 20 to 1. This one's 5 to 1. This one we think is more of a prep, but also 5 to 1. So it kind of seems like the 6 is just the best price.
Yeah, the 6 definitely is the best price. Agreed.
And could get a trip. Doesn't look bad on the plot, really.
A lot of unknowns in this one.
Yeah. Let's see. Santa Anita just finished there. There. And then we got 15 minutes to the 11th. So let's look at the 11th at Gulfstream while we're waiting for these horses to get at Oaklawn. We'll see. Do you think the 4 is loose in this race? I have a hard time saying for certain. I think there's a scenario where the 4 could be loose, but that's hard to say because the 12, if the 12 is a prep and has run those kind of best of the speed races and is in the outside post, I think they would try to send, just for nothing else, right? So I don't know. The 12 kind of has to go, whether she's quick enough. The 2's on the inside, so they probably have to go kind of from the inside. And then from there, it's like, I don't know if they let the 4 clear. You know what I'm saying? They could. What's up with a 3? 3's just kind of slow. So I don't know. I mean, it's possible. It's possible the 4 just gets loose. It's definitely one outcome. What's the plot fit? Yellow? Yeah, yellow is like caution. Things might not be what they appear. Gulfstream 11. 6 is a big favorite. 3 to 5. 6? So fast, not even on the butt. Seriously, where's the 6? Is that her? She's right in there. So fast, right off the plot. It's in that quadrant 1, but like it's pretty hard to see. An A minus. Woo! A minus. My God. Super impressive. All right, we'll take a look at these. Joe No's got to sign off. This has been fun. Need 488 double Gulfstream attorneys. All right, cool. We'll route that on to the stream. You're very welcome. Tomorrow we'll do a morning handicapping session and then stream live racing Friday, Saturday, at least next week. So hit the follow. You already have? Perfect. All right. Good luck in those last 2 races. On par, then we'll have to assess this Fletcher monster, apparently.
Dr. Duke actually won earlier on the card, who finished 3rd to Prime Factor.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
There's a question in the key table chat. Is this prime factor a BFD?
Well, first of all, somebody needs to clean up their potty mouth. I mean, that's malarkey.
That's like a masked opinion right there.
Yeah.
All right, 4 did not get a lone lead. The 2, as kind of expected, it kind of seemed like with the inside draw would kind of have to get in there. But the 4 also just kind of didn't really try to get lone either.
Seems like isn't that a pretty quick quarter for like Arkansas breds?
Yeah. The 6 on the inside doesn't seem like she's kind of handling the trap. It seems like she has run, so I don't know. 12 has run too. That was the one I kind of thought was a prep, but 9 getting the rep right now. Somebody's in traffic. Who's that? 8?
Wide open race, and the Cox is going to win.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I mean, this is why it's a tough game. I mean, you look at a race like that, and if that were any other trainer at that price, you wouldn't touch it.
Yeah, the 6 ran on for 4. The 6 didn't get the best trip inside. Just didn't look like the way, like visually, she was like handling the track, like kind of. Horses are like more fluid, and she was kind of more up and down. And then when they brought her off the outside, then she kind of started to run on, but it was lights out at that point. I wouldn't be too excited to bet the 9 back out. That's for sure.
No.
And so we know the 9's going to get bet because she won. It's Brad Cox, and like, how can she lose next time out? She's already won.
Right.
She's already beat 12 horses. So and also now she doesn't have a condition. So she's got to run in stakes probably.
So who ended up third there? Did you note?
4, 8, 4 was second, 8, 6.
8, 6, 4, 8, 6. Okay.
Yeah.
Or 9.
Oh, sorry. 9, 4, 8, 6.
9, 4, 8, 6.
Yeah. Golfy.
Last time.
All right. Ooh, Acacia. Acacia's going to get cagey here. She's going with the 7 to beat the 6.
Yeah, the second choice, rare.
They flip-flop. Ron goes 6, 7, 4, 5. Acacia's going to go 7, 6, 4, 5.
They call that the Gulfstream hedge.
Oh, okay. Yeah. That is true. I feel like with a horse like the 6, it's either on top or it's off, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Maybe it could be second if you really love the 7, and you're like, look, I know the 6, whatever, but we're just trying to be like, I don't know. I don't have the sound on, so maybe she's making the case that the 7 is gonna win, but it just kind of seems not. It's like, I'll just try to be cute. What time is the morning handicapping tomorrow? I think I set the time at 8:30. What am I, Central?
You're Central, yeah.
Yeah, Central. So 8:30 Central. I did it really early last week, and then I forgot. I was like, oh yeah, there's people on the West Coast. Oops.
Yeah.
It's like 4 o'clock.
You're like
taking into these races, doing some replays. Yeah, nobody was awake.
So what's your thought on the 3 here? Because you see this sometimes, a horse that really didn't show much and then steps up and, runs a big one in a pretty good race. Usually you see kind of a horse kind of back off something like that. But, what's your thought on the 3?
So my thought on the 3 is the 3, I have that pulled up right now. So first 2 starts looks pretty good, right? It has a B+ first time out. and then obviously, gets class tested, not quite to that level. And then kind of to your theory is laid up and then comes back off a 117-day layoff, has the potential to improve in that spot. But to me, that looks like a massive top to run a 97. So you can make the case that like that race is not too out of character because there's this back form here to kind of run back to at Gulfstream Park. But given this was a trouble start and ran a top off the layoff, I don't like this horse today. I think
Yeah.
this is just a tough. It's just a tough ask. Like even if they weren't running in a three, even if they're running in an allowance, like it would be just in terms of form cycle, like 28 days rest. But I mean, again, I could be wrong. But this is kind of the same angle on the three in that other race, and just sort of had that same pattern where it was like it popped that big race and then just couldn't run back to it on a shorter turnaround. Did both the first and second place finishers come out of the same 5-1 race on Oaklawn Park? Yes. The 9 was Ouchie off the layoff, and the 4, yes. They were both off the board in that race. The winner first time Cox, yeah. Yeah, I mean the 9 made sense. It was another one of those, quaddy types. So I don't know the 5. The 5 was a no show for us. What the heck? But yeah, again, the 9's gonna get really overbet next time out. And Brad Cox has he has his other Arkansas bred, and you guys remember from chat yesterday, he ran that Arkansas bred against open company allowance horses, and that horse is going to be good back with Arkansas bred. I thought she ran good yesterday, but I think she's going to improve. All right, let's get back to this race here.
What I think is interesting about this Gulfstream race is if you, let's just say you kind of just concede to the 6. If you don't, if this is one of those races where, the 7's, not in the exacta, there's some reasonably square exacta prices underneath. On a few of these horses, if you're not going to use obviously you're not going to use both the 6 and the 7 in concert with one another. But let's say you toss the 7. There's some pretty square exacta prices between the 5 and the 9. That aren't kind of the worst underneath plays, or even I wouldn't say the other Pletcher. That's not much value, but it's pretty square with the 5 and the 9.
Yeah. In terms of, we can look up kind of both these horses. The 9, the 9 just might be a good exacta horse because he just kind of stays on, has some speed, and maybe it's just like doesn't beat the 6, but has enough to kind of hang on. Because it doesn't really seem like, the 1 has speed, but this looks like kind of cheap sprint speed. I don't want to be mean here, but not much like stamina. We have a closing sprinter here. So there's really, there's some pressing types, but not the 4. The 4 ran pretty good. Oh, that's the other Pletcher, right. So yeah, maybe the 9 just like in terms of trip, just kind of stays on for second. The 7 looks as legit as the disappearing 6 on the plot. The 4 looks fine. The thing with the 5, Baffert debuting on the grass.
Yeah, it's odd.
It's really odd. I don't know if it's necessarily odd, but that's a tell that like they're not running on he'll run on the dirt. Wins first out. I remember clocking that horse. I was like, he looks like a turf horse though. I don't know. But yeah, obviously got transferred. Didn't really improve for the barn. Kind of steadily improving, but it's pretty slow. 5. And now they're going to go to the dirt, too. So, I don't know. 5 kind of sucks. Yeah. 7's gorgeous. Maybe Keisha's got it. Maybe she's got it. 7-6. I think both the 6 and the 7 just visually look really good. caught up with chat. This is the last. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say another kind of interesting race at Oaklawn as well.
Okay.
Kind of in the same vein, just looks like pretty wide open. You kind of have to work at finding the right angle. So it's, let's say, pretty wide open race.
Any thoughts on the 2 in the Gulfstream 11? Yeah, that was the one that I was saying. Like, that was the sprinter that's stretching out, right? So that's just my kind of concern on that front. Is not only does the 2 have to stretch out around 2 turns for the first time, but also is gonna probably have to improve as well. And that's just to me is a tough task at this point. There's minimal improvement race to race, 86 first time out, 88. Kind of getting good trips on both, was able to kind of track a very fast pace last time out and had a soft pace on the debut. So to me, this is a real, I think it's in terms of the connections, probably as good of a spot as any to go, does this horse want to go 2 turns or not? As a player, to me, it just seems like it's a lot to kind of sink into, that this horse is going to improve going 2 turns today in a graded stakes race. Go to Oaklawn. Look at Oaklawn race 7. Hi, Frost. I can't take you out. Do you see what's going on out there? I'm not going out there.
He needs a litter box.
Let yourself out, man. It's gonna be one of those days where it takes me longer to put on my clothes to go outside than actually spend outside.
Yeah, absolutely.
And knowing that like this was coming, I made sure I got some long walks in this morning. But yeah, that looks terrifying.
How have hop chippers done at Oaklawn?
Hasn't been many. A lot of them for Ingrid Mason. She's been pretty cold. So far, nothing that I can really think. But again, there hasn't been that many.
Yeah.
You see one?
Yeah, the 7 in the 7th race.
Okay, let's take a look. 12. 7's currently 10-1. 12, 10, and 4 are the ones taking that action. But let's start with that. Start with that 7. Looks kind of good on the putt, huh? A little pace advantage. Best speed, no finish, no line last time out. Oh, this is one of the Ingrid Masons. Tiring up and down under a drive to finish, drifting while shortening strides, flip to left lead after losing line late, but dropping in class today.
Does look good on the plot.
Yeah. I mean, that's a trip, right? It's like they're going to try to be best of the speed again, and if it's just enough to hold is going to be the question. So, I wouldn't be against at 10-1. Let's see what some of these others. A traffic trip for the 12 is currently the favorite. Ran at this level on debut. They considered a week ago running here at special weight. So I think this is positive. At least to have some intention to run at special weight and be like, you know what? We belong at 50.
Yeah, try to sneak through at 50.
I mean, it's just kind of more where she belongs. You know, like if
Yeah.
they ran at special weight, it's like maybe we'll get fourth, and then we'll have to run at special at maiden 50. But she's good to go right now. She's just not very good. We could probably run for 50 and win. So I think that kind of makes sense there. Um, and Catalana horses have been running well, so I don't mind. I don't mind that move, off the layoff. And that was just a week ago. That was January 23rd that they scratched. So this race probably came back up in the condition book as well, and was like, well, let's just do that. Let's run where she belongs. Get a
They're
drop.
loading at Gulfstream.
Oh, okay. Getting lost
If you're,
yeah. All right. Just adjust some screens. But the grid is up if you guys want to multitask there. All right. Got a sloggy. Like that. Maybe actually I'll keep the plot up. That way you can kind of watch the plot as it unfolds. But good on the two. I like when they just do that. They're like, this is our best chance to go.
Just do the right thing.
Yeah.
It's literally your only chance.
Exactly. That is literally your only chance. Just go for it. Looks more like a sprinter physically. Is getting pressed by the former Baffert turf horse, and the 6 is just like, all right.
Yeah, listen, once you've had Baffert, I mean, you're going to be near the front regardless of who trains you afterwards.
Yeah, the 6, they're keeping the 6 like off the rail, and I think they're just doing that to avoid kickback.
Yeah, he just looks back too. He's got all sorts of horse.
Yeah, the 7 is in traffic. The 9 is also wide. 3's trying to sneak up the inside. The 4 is going to be a no keep, the other Pletcher horse. Who, thank you for filling the race. We'll see you later. See you back at 1 turn. Adios. Could be a 7.
Yeah,
Six is under a
6
little
is,
bit of a ride. Seven's got some momentum on the outside. Let's see. Got the showdown now.
Yeah, this could be a slow stretch.
Oh, 7 easy.
Ooh, that was a little tight.
A little tight, but 7 all day.
Oh yeah, wow.
The greatest.
Much the best.
Honor code.
Honor sled.
6 couldn't even beat the Baffert turf horse. That's
No.
not good. Yeah. 3 regressed a little bit. The plot though. Plot was like, I don't know who this 6 is, but yeah. All right, Acacia. All right, update plot. Well done.
Yeah, listen, I mean, I think the Acacia and Optics plot on the top is like, undefeated.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is it Acacia or Acacia?
I don't know.
I don't know either.
I never have the sound on. I have no idea.
I know, literally.
That's when
literally.
it comes up to like pronounce, like I'm like on like a show or something like this. I have to like say a name I've like read a bunch of times, and I'm like, I don't know how to say it.
Yeah.
I have to say it. Let's go with the 3. 3 name. That sounds good. All right, we will look at this Oaklawn. Go back to this Oaklawn race.
Yeah, forget this Derby prep. I mean, let's look at these 50,000 claimers at Oaklawn.
I will say this. I mean, the 7 looked really good in here, but there was a lot of no-show in that race.
Yeah.
Because we kind of went through it, and it was like, I mean, the 6 just didn't show up. The Baffert turf horse that finished second. Let's see here. Race. You guys are chatty.
Joshua Morales aboard. Joshua won his first race ever.
Get out of here, Vic.
So I actually ended up playing that Tarantino under the 6 and the 7.
Oh, did you? Nice.
Yeah. I just thought the value was there. I don't
Yeah, no,
disagree with.
you're right.
Yeah.
You're right for sure. Yeah, that's unexciting. The fourth race is a maiden race at Santa Anita, but the fifth is a stakes race. So maybe we'll check that out. But for now, we got Oaklawn 10.
Yeah, we got Oaklawn again. I mean, there's 50,000 full field of 50K nags to look at. So
Vic,
I'm sorry. I mean horses.
right. Vic goes 110, 11, 7. He's not feeling the 12. We on the
Vic
right
would never
race.
bet. Vic would never bet his picks though.
True. So let's see here. We talked about the 12 current favorite. I think is logical.
Can I give you? This is kind of another old school kind of thing.
Yes.
So if you look at the 2 Freedom Bound, debuts at 30,000 at Churchill, which is obviously a top track, takes money. So I always find those like debut horses that take money, even if they don't run well, are generally come back and they're like really underbet. To me, that's a horse that, again, like I'm not saying wins the race, but those are the ones that I like to keep third and fourth. 30-1 morning. I mean, yeah, didn't show much, but there's obviously something there that the horse took money. So I don't know. Those are the kinds of things that I like kind of find. Again, when you're looking for something to make things interesting, it's not the worst thing in the world on the lower rungs in a wide open race.
Yeah. I just pulled up what I have on the screen right now is the plot from that race because when you said took money, I just wanted to see like what the morning line was, which it was 10-1 and went off at 9-2. It just didn't look like there was a big favorite in that race.
Yeah, and that could be the reason for the
And there wasn't like much behind. But let's look at that race and see if that race itself, that Churchill race. I like that. I mean, I like that angle as well, but I just want to see if we can make it even a little bit stronger. Like if the horses that came out of that race to like do something. Of course, next time out, Happy Go Bucky.
Excuse me?
That Churchill Downs, that November 18th race.
Happy Go what, Bucky. Young lady?
Happy Go Bucky.
Oh.
Happy Go Bucky.
I got you.
Nice work. Didn't do much. Let's see. My Girl Lexi kind of paired up with a B-. That was the winner. But then did run in a stakes race and was claimed for New Connections. Not much from the second place finisher, but then went to Turfway, so who knows. An improving race from the 8. I mean, there's some horses that ran well out of this race. So, to go with your a little bit more strength on that end, but I don't mind that at all.
I'm just looking for third and fourth place filler on something like this.
Okay. Yeah, the two certainly could. 55-1. And capable connections too. Holthus, obviously local, and Bowen rode for him at Indiana. The 4 makes sense. 4-1, obviously needs some. But I mean, what you see is what you get. There's no improvement.
Right.
This horse isn't going to improve at this time. It's just is a 70. If this horse runs its best race, a 75, 76, is that going to be good enough to win?
And this is the kind of horse that speed figure makers use to kind of base their numbers on as well, because it kind of usually runs the same race.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
The 4 second-time starter. I mean, the 4 could just be. The 5 could be kind of anything. Debuted at Turfway, going 2 turns from the 12 post. Like, I mean, that horse just basically didn't have much of a chance.
Would you say could be any kind?
I don't know about could be any kind, but I wouldn't put too much stock into like the debut is what we saw. I didn't get a chance to go back and look over that, but getting Lasix and blinkers for the first time probably makes a lot more sense in this spot than it's kind of a similar angle to yours in a way, somewhat like almost backwards. Like where yours was meant to do some running first out, this one wasn't meant to do running first out, and both of them could improve like under those conditions. The 6, I wasn't bet. Had some trouble at the start. No keep dropping. I just I don't like the 74 days layoff. That bugs. Like this horse could have run back by now. The 7 sort of the same thing like the 4. What you see is sort of what you get. I don't know if there's much upside, here, but certainly capable. The McKnight horse have been running okay, not great. Currently 8-1, certainly fits in terms of speed figures. And here, let's see, with a 9, looks fine. 10 first fast, did run a B race. But not the most positive, right? I don't know, the draw makes sense. I mean, this horse is fine too. This horse is another one that's just isn't very good, but is in the right spot to win. It's a lot like the 12, where it's just sort of like they know what they have, and I don't know. I can't. I think your angle of like trying to find a price underneath is good, but I mean, 10 and 12, I have a hard time making a case fully against them.
Right. This is the kind of race where you have like some of the chalk on top, and catch something like second, or well, especially third, because I think in a race like this, almost anything can finish third. So kind of almost keying on maybe if you have some sort of angle on a bomb, it's not the worst kind of play.
Yeah, I think we've kind of identified the 2 bomb horses in here, the 2 and the 5, both those second time starters.
But this is, the benefit of full field racing is that you kind of get scenarios like this that, you can kind of makes it a little bit more fun, obviously.
Yeah. We got the stakes race at Santa Anita. Is the 12th, or is that just like the 12th at Gulfstream? Is that anything?
It is. Yeah, it's a pretty bettable turf race to finish it off there.
Okay. Let me take a look at that. And then maybe I'll log off after that. Oh no, we've got some Oaklawn. We've got the Oaklawn. Wait a second here. I'm forgetting some races, right? Because there's another stakes race at Oaklawn. Oh, but that race I'm not excited about.
Well, you crushed the other one, so.
Yeah, the other Oaklawn race, I think it's the 8th actually. I thought the favorite was legit, and then there was a bunch of scratches, which like changed the pace scenario so much to where, yeah. So there used to be a really contentious quadrant 1, and all the speed scratched. So it made sense for the 7, but now the 6 could be lone. I don't know. It was ruined.
Happens.
Yeah. Well, we got that 12th. So yeah, I can't think any alternatives outside of. I still think the 7 is fine, but it just becomes like unbettable when it's like, well, the 6 could now wire.
Yeah.
And then it's like, well, if both of them, then it's just chaos. I don't know. I don't really see it as that. So, look at this. listen to those pages.
I know. It's, I mean, my fingers are black. It's old school. I like to touch it. I need to touch and feel it. It's a tactile thing.
Yeah. I was there for so long, and then it's just like anything. Like, you just start, like, as soon as your habits, like, they just develop. I don't know. I
gotta use, in a perfect world, it would be a paper form with optics. But the paper form is hard to find and it's expensive. So.
Yeah. I know. I was like thinking about it because you said it was what, like $12?
$12. Yeah.
And I was like, well, that's good. I mean, optics is like $50 for the week, so bargain.
It is a bargain. But remember, I'm a newspaper guy.
Yeah, that's true. I know we don't get it as much anymore, but like, so like starting off, like, can you like print? Like, what's the best way to print?
Yeah.
We don't get it as much anymore, but I mean, even for me, because you're used to that, right? Like, that's how I, learned. I had the form. I write all my colors and like highlighter and like pick all my stuff, like going through. So all of a sudden, it's like, even though you're on optics, you're like, I gotta write all my stuff in, Where do I put my notes? All right, they're going in the gate at Oaklawn Park.
Jock of the 12 appears to have some sort of visor shield.
Oh, yeah, COVID.
They're all wearing those?
Have you had it? Heard of it? Have you had it?
I haven't had it. I have heard of it. I've heard of it.
They don't all have them, but some of the riders have them. I've seen that in the past, like with off tracks too. So maybe it's a combination of both. Maybe it's like a 2-for-1. Like, that's sort of like me out here. It's like, I don't mind wearing a mask because it's so cold. I'm like, it just keeps my face warm.
There you go.
Like, I don't even care at this point. It's just like a little face warmer.
Nice.
Although there is that 6 race up at Santa Anita next is a 5-horse field. So there you go. All right. Let's have the spot up just for a round point. 1-7 out in front. 4 is tracking. 12 is stalking that pair. 8 is in traffic. 11 also hella wide. Where's the other horse? Oh, the 10. It's a 12 and 10. 12 got turned into a great price, actually. I say that now. Oh, there's 7 too. 7 was that best of the speed. I know, Frost. I'll take you out soon. Maybe. 7 looks, well, now the 4 seems like has a little run coming out of the pocket. And the 1's like, I'm not going to go away quite yet.
No.
But it looks like 4, unless the 9 comes closing. But I think might just run out of time.
I think it's, yeah. 4, 9, 12, looks like.
Yeah. 4, 9,
or
11, 12, maybe? Yeah, pretty tight. What was the 10? That horse, like, get scratched? Nowhere to be found. 2-1. I missed it. Was that the horse on the rail? Way off the pace? Yeah. Yeah, no excuse for the 7.
No.
12, I mean, being wide, whatever. Perfect trip on the 4. Good close on the 9. 2 was closing late, too. That was your 2. Closing.
A little too slow.
A little too slow, indeed. There's the 5. Well, it won't.
Yeah.
They're like, actually, we went 2 turns on the synthetic, so we just figured that's where all the slow horses go.
Yeah, right.
If you're slow, 2 turns on the synthetic. Hope for the best. All right. Gulfstream, Santa, Fairgrounds 8, Emily. Okay, sorry. Slacking. I just saw that. Hopefully we got time. All right. Fairgrounds 8, do you have a thought in this race? We can go start at the bottom. We'll look at number 3 as a favorite. Oops. Forgot about that. 3 looks pretty solid as a favorite. Improved in the maiden claiming. Went a better than looks. Looks to go on turf. Had to race on the off track. Then ran another B minus. Tactic, slog, close on the off track, and getting to the turf. So that horse looks pretty legit. Newsbreak ran a B, no cover, plotty. On hold, rating off loan. Finished in a drive and a photo with the entry mate. The 7 has some races. 7's 11-1, not taking much money. Off the 7-2 morning line, has those recent layoff lines. The turf figures fit. Not taking much money off the morning line is a little scary. Looks good on the plot, too. I'd kind of lean that way. I think the 3 is legit. The 8 is fine, but another one is just not taking much money. So yeah, maybe 3-7. Anything else pop? Anything in chat? Where are you? This is Bebop, Jay-Z. What were you thinking in this race? We can go to Golfy. All right, we'll monitor that Fairgrounds race. But Gulfstream got 5 minutes and a pretty soft favorite right now in terms of the public betting, 7-2 on the 5. Which I'm not crazy about. I know this horse, Harbor Master. He used to be in California. He's a kind of a good horse, good miler. Closer.
Yeah, the deep closer. It's gonna need the pace.
Kind of looks like should get it. Has
You should get it.
Yeah, sun contention and a 70 speed rate.
Yep.
I mean, the 5 doesn't look like it has really any edge.
No. 5 is a pass for me.
Yeah, what's up with the 3? Because the 11's got to go from the outside. Looks like you have all this contention. So yeah, maybe there's enough speed for that 8. The 3 is stretching out of those sprints. Not my favorite angle there. Not at all. Yeah,
not a
3
miler.
3 looks like a toss. So they're gonna drop in for a tag and stretch out for the first time. They're like, somebody buy this horse. Somebody please take this horse for 35. We don't care where we're running, surface or distance, but yeah. Fig Jelly, this is another horse that just is not taking any money, but it's plotty.
Yeah, it kind of always runs the same race.
Yeah, so plotty. Before these Saratoga races that I have pulled up, when he was running at Indiana Grand, there was like no excuse for those races. The 11 Ran a B race at this level last time out, blanket finish, but I mean, gonna have to clear from this post.
Yeah.
And could be wide, especially if it's got that speed all on the inside. I would imagine Joe Bravo is a little bit more assertive today. Because this horse can run, has to be like kind of forwardly placed for his best. The 7. Warming up right now. Not that they're gonna, I'm just trying to think like in terms of like race shape.
Yeah, I think in terms of like race shape and value, the Harbor Master is the kind of most logical.
Yeah, I'm kind of feeling this Harbor Master. Um, it's consistent enough. Let's see, it's just been hasn't been getting any paces to run at. Look at this. Very slow, average, slow, fast, late. Yeah, this horse has had like no chance in these races. Feeling it. Harbor Master. The only time had some pace here. Average, fast, slow, late, and 1. Weak race for the level, but still. Came back with a better than look. Close. I don't know. I like it. It's taking some money too.
Taking some money.
Feeling it.
I mean, that's the only like combination of price and, combination of price and like kind of like being logical about it that to me would be worth playing here.
Yeah.
Like if you switch to the surface distance too on the plot, like there's a lot of Q1 circle action.
Mm-hmm. I like it. Make a little play. Starting to get some drift too. Oh, like the Graham horse? Like the Graham, like the 8 as well? Nice. All right. Like the Graham. Which one is was that the 3? Is it James Graham riding the 3 at Fairgrounds? Yeah. I agree. Unfortunately, it's the favorite, right? But I agree. I think that horse is just in the right spot today. We'll keep an eye on that. 0 minutes to post at Fairgrounds, but we probably got a couple more. 1 minute to post at Gulfstream.
Without post drag now, right?
In theory, yeah. No, they've been pretty good. They've been pretty good about it. On the weekends, sometimes, be a little bit more, but let's go to golf. Oh, no bet at odds. Yeah, no, I think that's pretty tough. That's why I was trying to like find like if it was a good like key horse to find some value underneath. So I was like, well, maybe the 7, 3-7. It's a little bit stabby, but um,
They're going to run these races on top of one another.
yeah, pretty much. That's like what blows my mind. It's like both Oaklawn and Fairgrounds like set their post time at 1 o'clock. Like there's not a single one of them that's like, let's just go 1:10.
Yeah, that would make too much sense.
Like or 12:50. Be first. Be first. You want 1? Cool. 12:50. Now what? They literally go at like the same time.
Was 7 your stabby underneath play?
Yeah. It was just weird to me. Like, the horse made sense, but just, I mean, it was 7-2 morning line. It wasn't taking any money. Why was I capping that race for turf? Oh, jeez. That's not good either. Oh, I was looking at the wrong freaking race. That's why. Oh, boy. I have done this before. Okay, so, and interesting enough, James Graham is still on the 3, so, jeez. Might still get lucky with 370.
Hey, you never know.
Handicapped the wrong race. Somehow found a bad favorite. The 3's coming off the inside, but I think it's gonna happen.
He's got some ground to make up.
He definitely has some ground to make up. 2 is like hanging for dear life, though.
Yeah, he's gonna hang on.
All right. Start paying attention now. All right, we're at Gulfstream. Still need just 6 minutes to the stakes race there, and 17 to the stakes race at Oaklawn. They're off at Gulf. Let's make sure I have the right plot up for that race, just so we can follow along. So this one we thought that for the 8, getting a contentious pace, not great, kind of being wide right now, but also
he's certainly a little closer to the pace as well.
Yeah, and it's a fast pace, so I don't know if that's, look, they went under 23. So I don't know if that's necessarily a good thing for this horse. Definitely going to take some of that square out, but I mean, coming out of much better races, it could just be, this horse is just better. Doesn't matter, but hopefully that's the case. Because it's not the most ideal trip for this horse, but
no, but that's a pretty quick half, right? 46.
Yeah, I mean, compared to what we've been seeing today too, like 50, 48. $109 and wide the whole time too. Jeez.
Yeah, wide.
Yeah. I think we were in with a shot today, you guys, but that ride, like, just screwed us. Because look at this race. It's falling apart late, kind of.
Wow. 6, huh?
Yeah. Yeah. Who screwed us? Wife beater. Classic. Classic. Just basically punched us in the face.
There you go.
Said he. All right. Alvarado. Yeah, your horse Emily has a human laboratory. So I'm gonna start calling him from now on. I mean, I called him wife beater, so laboratory is not that considered. Typos are the best. I feel like that's the best thing with technology. They give us so many funnies.
Oh, it's incredible.
And then Twitter with like no edit button is just like, yeah, we're just gonna leave that for eternity. Enjoy. We know what you did.
Enjoy it. Well, pace definitely broke down, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Race fell apart.
He needed the plot. He needed an optics plot today to just go,
Yeah, I don't think you can read.
That's possible. It's like, how you normally, far back, that's actually good today. Just be good with
Yeah.
it and let this horse kick. Don't be wide. Don't be, 4 wide, tracking a 23:46, 109 pace. That's not going to help anybody. All right, here's this 5th race at Santa Anita. The 2 is the favorite. Makes sense to me as the favorite. And make sure I'm laughing with you, not at them. This is a whiff. 3, she got a good trip. Aaron, the 3 in that last race at Gulf, or going forward? Oh, the 6 didn't get there at Gulfstream. It looked like the 6 to me,
11?
but the 11 held.
Wow, it really did.
Yeah, it looked like the 6 had that momentum on the outside and just got up like right on the top wire. Let's go look at that. I don't know if my dog could wait another hour for the other stakes race. So we got the end of Gulfstream. So we'll watch this stakes race. I'm gonna say the next at Oaklawn, but let me look at the timing and just to see. Yeah, I don't. It just doesn't look bettable to stick around for. So after this race at Santa Anita,
as they are circling around, and they'll come up to the gate.
I'll log off. POTUS, thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It was fun.
On Air Force One.
Yeah, exactly.
Or Mar-a-Lago. I guess you don't really have to travel. Or did you get kicked out? Oh no, but you're not you're not the Mar-a-Lago anymore. You're at the White House.
I'm in the White House. I'm the big dog now.
That's right. That's right.
What was your who's your pick here at Santa Anita?
At Santa Anita, I mean, Aaron, you like the 4. I went 2, 4, 3. I think the 2 just makes sense. I mean, not exciting to bet at even money. I don't think it's that much of a cinch. But just as lightly raced, is improving. Just in terms of the surface and distance, just kind of makes sense. I think that was the edge that I gave him over the other horses, and it's a little bit of the question I have with the 4, which is why I put the 2 in front of the 4. I think the 4 is a good horse, ran a really good race in the Malibu, has some stakes quality, but I'm not sold that the 9 furlongs is what he wants. So maybe it's just the right field and like the class carries, or because if you just look at his form, he's been running shorter, and like Sheriff's runners, I mean, he'll run them long. Where am I? But he seems like, kind of just wanted to go sort of that maybe middle distance. I don't know. It just seemed like the pattern wasn't quite screaming like they had the longer intention for him. But again, maybe he's good enough. So where I was going with that, I brought him back. So like last year they ran him long, but this year when they brought him back, he kept him shorter. And this 9 furlong, considering was the turf he ran, he had to close against the flow. This is kind of a good race. It just seems like that 7 furlongs to a mile is like his sweet spot. That's where he's just running really well, if that makes sense. And then the 2, I just felt like the longer the 2 turns was almost the better. But we shall see. I'm not a fan of the 1. I think that horse always gets good trips. And he wins, but he always gets good trips. The 3 has a big challenge, kind of coming back. Could improve second off, but just kind of has something to prove. 4's getting a really great trip, though. Sit in the pocket, has lots of horse. The 2 and the 4 just like visually look like they're on a different level. They just look classier. POTUS, are you on Twitter?
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
I am at POTUS Capper.
Why did it not send? There we go. That's where you can get it. Here comes the 4, you guys. You got a lot of root for the 4 here. Perfect trip.
Yeah, great trip. 4-1.
2, maybe. Not quite. But great trip for the 4. I'm still not sold on the distance. I just think that was a great trip. And got him there. But yeah.
You're right, though. Very like a physically just looks good.
Doesn't he? I mean,
yeah.
Yeah. Like just like you look at him, just like when they're running like next to those other horses, it's like a man among boys.
Yeah.
Like, it's like a different
Big boy.
creature. Juan Hernandez has been riding like so well. He is like schooling that colony. Another rider colony that's also your age, by the way.
Yeah, I mean, it used to be Southern California used to have, like basically an all-star room, and it's just gone so downhill for obvious reasons. But in good old days, they had, 15 Hall of Famers in there.
Yeah, Hernandez, and for rides like that, where it's just like he's constantly putting horses like in the perfect spot and getting the best trips, and it's like all the other riders are just like the rider on the 2. Like, it's a 5-horse field. How are you finding traffic off the pace? What? Your horse isn't a closer. Like, you're just like, you're in like a terrible spot. Like, right off the bat. Like, no plan, no ability to adjust. I don't know. He just always has those horses like in the right spot.
So is there anything on the, like with the Lewis, did you have any kind of strong feelings about the Lewis one way or the other?
At it. You know what? So it's like that was like the challenge with it. It's like, what's gonna happen? Okay, so I think the 1 is gonna be a big favorite in here, and it looks fine on the plot. It's tough to knock. I know people were like really enamored with his last race behind Life is Math, who he was slowing, so it looked like Medina Spirit was closing, but and there's some improvement race to race, but like I said earlier on the stream, the Baffert horses run fast early, and then it's just a matter of maintaining. I don't know if there's that much upside with Medina Spirit, And even if he pairs a 93, it's like maybe that gets it done, but he's going to be the favorite. And then just in terms of like timing, I mean, Baffert running a horse, third race in, less than 2 months. Normally if it's like a good horse, like he'll just be like patient or whatever. So
Right.
I just like am not. I just as a horse, I just think he's going to be overbet. He could win, but I just don't. I don't trust him, especially at what's going to be a short price. So there's that. But again, I'm like conceding the fact that like he could totally win this race. The 2 Scratched, who was another one that had some class to him, but I did not like the way he was training. So I'm in some ways, whatever. It's one less horse to deal with. The 3, it's kind of the same thing with the 4 in this last race, Sheriff's Horse, where I don't think that he's ideally suited to 2 turns, but maybe just gets the trip today, right? Because if the 1 wants to track, none of these other horses have speed.
No, there's not a lot of speed.
So it's like I don't think the 3 wants to necessarily go 2 turns and go longer than he has, but maybe he just does today. Maybe it just works out. Hot Rod Charlie, he could, he ran a really good race in the juvenile. I remember he looked really good in the post parade, and then this number just like bugs me. It's just such an outlier.
Right.
70, 76, 69, 82, 102. What happened from like a change in running style? And I looked at some of the horses that ran out of this race, and I just think this number is like really inflated. I don't know what it is. What DRF has it, but so to me it's like if you just like excuse that number and that race, even though it's tough to do because it was a good race, is he the horse that's going to run an 82? If he is, he's definitely not going to win.
Yeah, it's definitely an outlier in DRF as well. It's the same kind of thing.
Yeah. So I just know it's like and another horse that probably because of that number and because of the finish in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile is probably going to be the second choice. So like so far I have like strikes against like all these horses, and this horse is too slow. But have the good rider. And why did this horse move forward? He easily could. They are going to come off Lasix today, which did help last time out with the blinkers, but still, you have a lightly raced horse. Doesn't have to move forward that much to go from, 10 points wouldn't be that big of a jump. So
when you look at a race like this, if the 1 and the 8, both the 1 and the 8 weren't trained by Baffert, you would toss both.
Yeah, see, so the thing is, I could make a case for both, and I almost like the 8 more because.
Yeah, I do too.
Yeah, because the 8, typically they win first time out, but whatever. This horse ran fine, and then they go to a graded stake, which isn't normal for Baffert with maidens, right? So it's like the fact that they kind of like push forward. I didn't mind it in this case. And again, he like ran fine. That was like a very fast pace and stayed on well. And then this race sucks, but this is like really unlike Baffert to run in 19 days back. So it's kind of the same thing with Medina Spirit. So I can excuse it because of the timing, and that's going to come into play here. So he gets more time, gets rested, gets back, wins the race, and then they run back in 2 weeks, and then he sucks. And then they give him more time, and then he runs well. And now they're giving him 42 days. So it's like, if you just take out those 2 races that he runs on like a short period of time, he looks just as good as any of these other horses, and he's the only graded stake winner in the field. And he's multiple graded stake placed. So again, it's like it's not typical Baffert, which makes you nervous, but also you can make a case for him. So then basically I land on the 7. Because the 7 has been improving. O'Neill's hot, and it was just like, I don't know. Like, basically, like, process of elimination. I can't really knock this horse. Like, the other horses, I'm like, I can kind of make a knock, but I think he's going to be a better price at the stablemate. Still has some upside. I kind of like the progression. In terms of distance, like they've been running him in those longer sprints. And this race too. So this maiden race, he finished second behind Life is Math. But they weren't asking. They were just like, we're not going to beat this horse.
Right.
We're running for second basically, and did enough to run second and like not tax the horse. So then he's like a little bit more showing of himself here, and I just think there could be another move forward from that perspective. At Oaklawn, they went off the 7 is going to get up over the 6. So another score for circles and squares today. Perfect record in circles and squares. All right. Oh yeah, and that 4 horse I gave you. So yeah, my opinion just like is not strong in this race. And I will be like more interested in like what to do with any of these horses like going forward. I don't know. That makes sense. Did you have a thought?
No, I'm kind of the same. I mean, I don't listen. I don't like these younger races with the Baffert horses because even when you find legitimate reasons, they draw off and win by 5, and you're shaking your head. So,
Right.
If I were handicapping this, assuming that there wasn't any kind of, call it third party kinds of things going on.
Can you see the screen? Can you see the screen right now?
No.
Okay, so I was gonna say I just took away the jockey trainer combination, so now you can just look at the horses.
Yeah. I mean, I would
go.
be, if I were handicapping this and it were like kind of a normal situation, so to speak, with no super trainer, I would absolutely be on the 7.
Okay.
Absolutely be on the 7. Like for a lot of the reasons that you said. But again, it's if any other trainer, especially on the 8, when you like, if you were to cover up the trainer name and create the morning line, it would be different.
Right.
If Bob Baffert trained the 7, it'd be the morning line favorite, potentially. Now the 1 would still be the favorite, but I don't know. It's just one of those things that it's so like as a horse player, you want, it's kind of ruins like 3-year-old racing to me.
Yeah, it'll be interesting because, I mean, the 1, I mean, and like how they bet too. People are really excited about this 1.
Yeah.
And to me, I'm like, he's okay. I don't know. Maybe like I get proven wrong today, and like he just shows up like a completely different horse. But again, let's go back. Let's like think about Baffert and what Baffert does. Does Baffert wait till December at Los Alamitos to debut a good horse?
True.
No. This horse could have run 2 weeks earlier at Del Mar, but even still, that's like Del Mar fall meet. It's like this just isn't. It's just not the spot. He was put. Got the right trip.
Well, I mean, you have to ask yourself. It's a Florida bred, $35,000 like purchase. Like no one else on the planet has a horse like that almost that almost wins a grade 3 in its second start. It just doesn't happen.
Yeah.
So I guess that's my issue with it. Sure, you got $1 million horse like Spielberg. There's things expected of that horse, but it's these horses that he comes up with that are like, that. And again, we can all have our own feelings about kind of breeding and in that kind of thing. But there's no other trainer on the planet that after 2 races can get a horse to run 100 Bayer, without it being some sort of a either freak or a, just a kind of once in a lifetime purchase.
Is that what they have? Is that what they have that number at? It's a 100?
A 99.
Jeez. So an Optics is a 91st out and 93 in the second start.
So Optics has it much closer. There's a much bigger spread with the Bayer. The Bayers are 76 and 99. But it's just, to me, it's like the guy has so many of these types of horses that, and I know, listen, they're on a program where they're kind of forced to run fast early, and that's the training regimen and everything else, and it's a different kind of approach, but beyond that, it's just you run into these situations where there's too many things that you're thinking about that have nothing to do with the actual performance itself.
Right.
And that's the problem. And listen, like it could be that he's just that good, and so be it. There's a chance that that's the case, but there's a far greater chance that it's not the case. So, when you're kind of looking at horses like this and you're saying to yourself, like, how many of these horses can one person churn out? It's just, listen, it's either too good to be true or it is.
Right. And Aaron brings up a point. He says, absolutely agree. The powers that be are afraid of Baffert. They figure wrongly that if they discipline him, racing will collapse. And there's truth to that too, right? Because it's like he has so much stake in the game, like literally. Like between these horses and winning these big races, it's like, who is going to fill those shoes? And that's and he has so he has the game at this point. He has basically the power over the game. It's like, if they do discipline him, who's gonna have those same type of clients that are buying $1 million horses? That's
hey, listen.
So you're at like this total like standstill of like, what do you do?
At the end of the day, it's the name of the game is winning, and the name of the game is winning with when you're buying $1 million horse. You expect to win. Mm-hmm. And listen, it wouldn't be the first, second, or 9,000th situation of doing whatever you needed to do to win. So in that vein, it's no different than any other major sport or any other endeavor where a lot of money's on the line, is that people are going to do what they need to do. Horse racing is unfortunate is that in those situations where you look at what happened with baseball and the steroid era, is that that's an individual making a choice. You're an athlete that's making a choice to do what you're doing. These horses don't have a choice. The horse isn't saying, I need to do whatever I need to do to get ahead. That's somebody else doing it to a horse. So, and again, we don't know. Nobody really knows exactly what goes on, and God only knows, and I'm sure there were things going on 50 years ago as well. I mean, so it's not like it's, something that's completely new. It's just, it's unfortunate that the haves and the have-nots have gotten like that kind of difference between the haves and have-nots is just so deep now, where
I mean, it's like anything, right? Like we had that income discrepancy like in the world, where it's like you're either way up at the top or the bottom, like there's the middle is just such a almost non-existent. And then racing itself too, it's like I've mentioned this on Twitter, it's like, Are $20 million races, is that good? Is that good for the game? I mean, that to me is like, it's going to incentivize to cheat. Exactly.
There's too many incentives and not enough deterrence. And you almost at a certain level can't even blame these guys.
Right.
Because A, there's no punishment that ever fits the crime properly, even when they do get caught. And B, the things that potentially are kind of being done aren't detectable in any event. And then it becomes nothing more than cycling, which is everybody kind of knows everyone else is doing it. So then it just kind of becomes okay. So now, again, with that said, like, I don't know anything about, the medication of horses and, how that actually works. But I kind of do have a couple things, which are the ability to see and the ability to think critically. And I think anybody that's in our shoes looks at what's going on, has been going on for the past 5-7 years, and just says, listen, this isn't, something's not right. Something doesn't look right. This is really too good to be true. How many 40% trainers that are coming out of nowhere, and, seemingly impossible performances that are being duplicated time and time again. And, it just makes you wonder. But by the same token, again, it's not as if these types of things have never gone on before. I just think the level of sophistication of some of it is kind of beyond, what anybody might have comprehended was possible.
It's like, it's a tough spot. And I think everybody's like in a tough spot, which is why nothing is getting done too, I mean, there's
right.
people that, are still like praising the feds, like the feds, the feds don't give a fuck about horse racing. Zero. They don't care.
Right.
They did not get involved in this to like clean up the sport. So the people that keep saying that, it's like, it just annoys me to no end. Like, they were chasing the money. that's why they're doing it, and through something unrelated to horse racing, from what I can gather from like the reports, right? And even when you think about it, it's like, think of the horses that got busted. They got the Saudi Cup and the Dubai races are those big purse money races. That's why they went after it. So like, they're not gonna like, be involved. And they don't care. Like the feds are not gonna come save horse racing. They're not on our side. Biggest problem in racing.
No, it's not. You're right. It's not some. Yeah.
The biggest problem in racing is they ruin the handicap division and have too many races, so good horses hardly run against each other. Right. True. And then also too, it's like that whole win percentage thing where it's like I'm only gonna enter where I win, and like, all that type of stuff. So yeah, it's like you get those stake races like that, the last race that we had, where there's literally 2 horses in the race that could win, and there's only 5 horses in the field. That's not good. That's not good. Like, yeah. They need to, like, that kind of goes to like.
No, and listen, even if, let's just say, like, okay, so I mean,
go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I kind of lost my connection there. Yeah, and even if, listen, even if, let's just say for argument's sake, like nothing nefarious is going on, and it's just, it just kind of appears that there's some sort of, wrongdoing. Like even with that being said, like there's just the balance in the way that things are structured, like especially with the highest classes of racing, it's like a handful, like literally, like how many times, like, okay, so Chad Brown in the best turf race is going to have 4 of the 10 horses. Baffert, especially in the younger horse races, for 3-year-olds certainly, and maybe as 4-year-olds if they're still actually running, he's going to have a high percentage of the top class, dirt horses. Like at some point, like that becomes like, with all the other problems that racing has, like it's just not compelling anymore, and it becomes less and less bettable too. So there's just so many things that at that level need to change, and I don't. There's just no kind of good way around it at this point. But I don't know.
All right. On that note, I think I will log off. Try to take my dog out. I will mention something here. I don't know if it's really gonna matter, but people might talk about it. So this upcoming race at Santa Anita, the one horse here, Speed Pass, he's coming back off the layoff. Speaking of Baffert, kind of bringing this around full circle. This horse has been working with Bezos, who's kind of like the buzz horse for Baffert that hasn't debuted yet. Which again, let's talk. I mean, he's got a horse named Life is Good and Bezos. It's like trolling us in plain sight. So, anyways, I don't know. Baffert horses off long layoffs. I don't like necessarily think that this horse is, that's not like a high percentage angle. This race is not that strong. Could win just because of that. But I think people will talk about, oh, like he worked with Bezos going forward. But I think Bezos is good, a good horse. So I don't know, we'll see. When Chad Brown runs 4 horses and they help each other out, that's not good for racing either. Yeah, totally. But at least in that sense, I'm somewhat okay. I'm okay with it, because at least that's something that us as horse players can at least handicap, right? We can go, okay, there's, 3 speeds and this is the closer. It's like at least we have, something to kind of help us out. You know what I'm saying? Not that I disagree with your point, but at least that it gives us some advantage where, a lot of the time it's, who knows what's behind the scenes, if that makes sense. All right. POTUS Capper, thanks for joining. Make sure you guys follow POTUS Capper on Twitter. Follow, if you haven't already, the channel. Handicap tomorrow morning. Go over some of these races. Thanks, Emily. Would you consider moving your picture to the right side of the screen next time? You know what? I don't know how to do that. I'm a boomer on this. Like, I don't know how to, I hit like start stream. Like I'm not sure. Let me look into doing that because I see what you're saying because it covers up, helps you see the form better. Yeah, super good point. And like I see what you're saying, but yeah, I don't know how to do that, but I would assume it's possible. I don't know. Thank you. I will look into it on that front. All right. Anything else before we let you guys go and me out to the wilderness? POTUS?
No, hell of a job on that Oaklawn race. We got some winners out there, and it was good. It was fun. Thank you.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you guys. Yeah, again, this is back-to-back profitable days, so hopefully, I know it kind of goes up and down, but we're gonna ride it out while it lasts. So, all right, thank you guys, and until next time.
Enjoy. Have a good rest of the night.